Yeah, what's up, everybody? Dude's a douchebag. Yo, what's up, chat? How we doing? We got the Trump interview coming up at 8 o'clock with Elon Musk. It's going to be a pretty freaking good one. Let's see.
People ask me all the time, Chris, if you could only take one supplement for the rest of your life, which one would it be?
You're saying that you're not going to change your campaign strategy, you're going to keep going with the issues. But what if this so-called honeymoon period doesn't end?
Oh, it's going to end. The honeymoon period's going to end. Look, she's got a little period. She's got a convention coming up. It's about policy. It's not about her. I think she's incompetent because I've watched her. She destroyed California. She destroyed San Francisco. Everything she's touched has turned to bad things. I'm not going to use foul language, but everything she's touched has turned bad. She's
Sure.
incompetent. The reason she's not doing what I do and she's not doing what she should be doing, she won't even do interviews with friendly people because she can't do better than Biden. Now, he had a reason for not doing well, and he was never, 25 years ago, the sharpest or brightest bulb in the ceiling. That I can tell you, okay? He wasn't. But he could do interviews at least. Not lately, he couldn't, perhaps. But she should be doing interviews. She doesn't want to do interviews. And the reason she doesn't is, number one, her policies are so bad. Just to answer your question, I think that it's not going to change because it's really ultimately not about her as much as about her policies. She wants open borders. She wants to defund the police. She wants to defund the police. She wants to take away your guns. Anybody that thinks they're not going to come after your guns, you know, when I was president, I totally protected the guns. And I think it's very
The
important.
guns.
And I know I take some heat sometimes for it, but you have to have safety. You have to have, when the bad guy walks in with a gun, you got to have some way of protecting yourself. And boy, that would be, you would see crime go up at levels that you've never seen. When
Very
people
true.
say on this side of the house, this house has guns, we will use the guns, they say, let's pass. We'll go someplace else. You have to have them. And for 4 years, and you know, as you know, the NRA endorsed me very powerfully every time I ran, every time. My sons are members, and I
Nice.
guess indirectly I'm a member too. But they gave me the strongest of endorsements, and that's against very strong competition. People that felt the same way. No, you have to have that right. Our Second Amendment is a very important right, and it has to be protected.
All right, there's a lot to fact check there, so we're just going to run through things here. He said that Kamala Harris is an
Where did you see frightened? Like, because the title of this video is that is a frightened Donald Trump. Where did this guy see frightened in any of those comments? That doesn't make sense.
favor of is not in favor of giving Israel weapons. She made it very clear, her campaign did this morning, that she is not in favor of an arms embargo.
But they've been doing it though, and she's currently the vice president. So these people are lying.
Of Israel. He said that no one died on January 6th. People were killed. We know that. Ashley Babbitt.
Well, Ashley Babbitt's one of us.
3 others died from medical emergencies.
That's not killed though. So right there, he's not lying.
1 officer died.
And he's already said his condolences for Ashley Babbitt.
Immediately after having been pepper sprayed in the day following. There were 4 officers who died of suicide in the months after. He
That has
talked about
nothing,
how
that's
there's a
not murder.
constitutional issue for how Kamala Harris was chosen by the Democratic Party. That's not true. The Constitution doesn't govern how the party selects its candidates. He also talked about the border. He said 20 million people over the border. That's grossly exaggerated. He could have just gone with the actual number. It's not a great number. He chose 20 million.
It's just a roundabout number. These people are so fucking brain dead, dude.
But actually, crossings are down for the last 4 months, the lowest they've been in 3 years since the president signed his executive order. He certainly did not mention that. That is not the picture that he painted. And he also said that in Afghanistan, there had been no deaths in the 18 months before the withdrawal, that no one was even shot at. We'll tell that to the service members who were wounded in 2020. They certainly would disagree with what he said there. He is right, though, that no one died until the withdrawal. And that is in part because that 18 months he's talking about, that is the timeline for when his administration negotiated with the Taliban.
Yeah, except Joe Biden just decided to just do what he wanted and got 12 people killed. Why are these ladies fact-checking Trump right now about this when Biden's the one that got them people killed? What is going on?
To secure a deal for the U.S. leaving Afghanistan. He negotiated, his administration negotiated that deal, and then he left the execution of that for the Biden administration. Yes,
they're all liars, dude. They're all just nothing but
Critics
liars.
of the deal also say the deal was a debacle. There are a number of other things, and that includes the crowd size, which he told a lie about of Kamala Harris.
Which clearly is getting at him because he stayed on crowd size for a long time. Jeff Zeleny
You guys are the ones that say crowd size doesn't matter. What are you talking about?
is back here with us.
Why is this even a topic of conversation on their platform when they're literally the ones that say crowd size doesn't matter? What are you even commenting on it for then? It doesn't matter. Who cares?
You were at the rally yesterday in Detroit. You've been to many Trump rallies. This is something that is bothering him, and he felt the need to exaggerate and lie about it.
For sure. I mean, it's almost back to the future on crowd sizes. This is something that has really been at the center of the former president's line of thinking. Success is measured in crowd sizes. He's often misstated his own, but look, we all know that Trump campaign rallies are large. Some of the largest we've seen in modern days. I was at the Harris rally last night in Detroit.
What's up,
It
Chet?
was the size of a Trump campaign rally, if not bigger. Certainly bigger than most
He's
Democratic
lying.
rallies. In fact, all of them have been this year.
But why do they care? Because they're the ones that say the size of the rallies don't matter. I am so confused why this is all of a sudden a topic of conversation for them.
Thousands were at the rally last night in Detroit. It's impossible to get a precise number, but let me describe it for you. It was a large airport hangar that there were risers on both sides. It sprawled out onto the tarmac, a large area out there where Air Force 2 was parked. 4 risers were filled. Rows of chairs were filled. People as far as the eye could see. So thousands were there. He said 1,500. But I think perhaps one of the other headlines out of this is debates. He said that he wants to have 3 debates in September. We will see what the Harris campaign says that. They've agreed to one of those on ABC, but
So who's the scared one then? Who's the one that's scared if he's saying, I want to debate you 3 times, and you're saying, no, only one? Who's the scared one?
other details are still being worked out, of course.
Right, and he had those 3 debates that he wanted on different networks.
Yeah,
I believe we also have
rightfully
Anthony
so.
Scaramucci with us, who is a former Trump White House communications director.
This dude's a
Anthony,
douchebag.
You've known the former president for a while. I'm curious what your general thoughts are on his press conference. He did take questions from the press and is still answering them, and also too why he feels the need to lie about crowd size of all things.
Why do they care?
Well, I mean, that's something, he made Sean Spicer lie about that the day after the inauguration. So he's going to consistently do that. He's also, he spent the whole time talking about fear mongering. He's talking about fear on the border. He's talking about fear in the economy. He's talking about fear of crime. And so it's a very fear-based approach. I don't think any strategist working with him agrees with what he's doing right now. They're sitting there cringing. He's sitting there saying, okay, we're flailing, so I'm going to show you how it's done. I'm going to go out to the press, speak unhinged for 40 minutes to an hour, and I'm going to set everybody straight on what we're doing.
Dude's
And
such
so
a
it's
douche.
not working. You know, if I'm a Democrat here, Democratic strategist, please let him go on for another 2 hours, like Benito Mussolini or Fidel Castro. Just let him unwind himself. And so the Harris campaign is actually very smart here, saying little about this and just fact checking things related to Israel. But I know the president, 71 campaign stops with him, 11 days in the White House, but I did work with him for almost a year. That is a frustrated, and believe it or not, that is a frightened Donald Trump. He's looking at the poll numbers. And it was a big tell when he does the accordion thing and tells you how great he's doing in the polls. That's a big tell for him. He's not doing well in the polls. He knows that. And so that's another big lie that he's saying from that podium. So, let him keep talking. He'll dig a bigger hole for himself. And people will remember, well, I don't really want to go back to what was going on in this country, 2017 to January of 2021.
You want to know how much of a douchebag that guy is? He used to work for Trump, and then he did something. Trump disagreed with him on something, and he like completely quit supporting him. Such a fucking douche, bro. Oh, he tweeted this.
Donald Trump wins the presidency. What started off as unlikely, impossible, is now reality.
I will fight for you with every breath in my body, and I will never, ever let you down.
We have a president who actually fulfilled
Yeah, what's up, Alpha? How you doing, brother?
securing the border to foreign policy. He now has a record as president that's pretty damn
Excuse me. Trump always makes the coolest fucking commercials, bro.
FBI has executed an unprecedented search warrant at President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. The president has both sides of the political aisle up in arms.
dangerous and unstable moment.
Everybody, please make sure to hit that like for me if you could. It really helps out a lot.
Former President Donald Trump.
7 years. They hated him. They targeted him. They hunted him.
This is the epitome of the abuse of the prosecutorial power to preempt political decisions.
I never
It does.
thought
Hold on.
anything like this could happen in America. The only crime that I have committed
that better?
is to fearlessly defend our nation
Here.
from those who...
Trump has left the
Let's restart
We
it.
can now project the winner of the presidential race. Donald Trump wins the presidency. What started off as unlikely, impossible, is now reality.
I will fight for you with every breath in my
Appreciate
body,
you, brother.
and I will never, ever let you down.
We have a president who actually fulfilled the promises he made during the
Appreciate
campaign.
you.
The border to foreign policy.
Now has a record as president that's pretty damn impressive. Breaking news out of Palm
The
Beach,
FBI
Florida.
has executed an unprecedented search warrant at President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. The former president has both sides of the political aisle up
is
in
a
arms.
dangerous and unstable moment in American history.
The Justice Department has
Yeah,
just
that's what we're
indicted
getting ready to
former
do.
President Donald Trump.
7 years. They hated him. They targeted him. They hunted him.
This is the epitome of the abuse of the prosecutorial power to preempt political decisions.
I never thought anything like this
Well,
could
that head's
happen
sweet,
in
bro.
America. The only crime that I have committed is to fearlessly defend our nation from those who seek to destroy it. The more that a broken system tells you that you're wrong, the more certain you should be that you
that you're
must keep pushing ahead.
Right.
They want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. They're not coming after me, they're coming after you, and I just happen to
Look
be
at
standing
Dana
in their way,
White.
and I will never be moving. On November 5th, 2024, justice will be done. We will
Yes,
take
sir.
back our country, and we will make America great again.
What's up, Will?
America will always rise to every challenge.
It starts at 8 o'clock, so we got 9 minutes.
Donald Trump seems to always get stronger when challenged. These types of things, I think, give him strength.
When I'm reelected,
Hello?
I will totally obliterate the deep state.
No, you gotta turn it up because I just turned it up a lot.
In our beliefs, courage in our convictions, and faith in
Okay.
our God, then we will not
Fail.
Well, maybe I could turn up a little bit. That was a good one. I like it. So is he doing it on a space? Okay. All right. I think I'm already joined, right? Is that what that means? Because it said I was joined. I just don't think it's open yet. Huh. UK. 250-year. Dude, oh, yeah, that's right. 250-year anniversary. Let's fucking go. Of one of the fucking most important days of our lives. All right. I think it's just acting weird because it's not open yet, maybe? Who is Chad Smith, UK, making threats to Elon if he does? I seen that, bro. Did they really say that if people are going to they're going to try and come after people in America? Was that real or was that just satire? Let's see. I don't know who Chad Smith is. Where do you see that at, Will? He's an American musician. Dude, it is. It's going to be a great one, Alpha. It's going to be a fucking great one. Uh, Chad Smith. Oh, he's the drummer of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Yeah, yeah, he's the drummer of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Well, if that's what you're talking about. Yeah, he said this is gonna do it for real. I guess they need him. Right? I know, right? They really do. Look, they're about this for real. This fucking Twitter space right here is legit about to break the fucking internet, dude. This shit is about to be wild as fuck.
You know, what Sean was talking about effectively was the issue of proportionality. If you have many, many dozens of civilians killed, there has to be very strong and clear and overwhelming evidence that those killed.
We ended up losing. And after I lost, got convicted, whether the sentence came in, you know, obviously the courtroom is full. I know who this lady Kamala Harris is, right? People in the projects knew who she was because she was a black district attorney. And we thought that we had a black district attorney in office, right? And
what does that mean? I don't understand that. Like, we thought we had. What do you mean? Like, it doesn't like give people the fucking right to just go do whatever the fuck they want. That doesn't even make any sense to me.
A lot of detector tests found out that that was a lie.
Perceived to be black, right? That will have that's from Oakland. And that's all we kind of knew. And we would think that, you know, that she would, you know, be a little bit more favorable to us. Now, during my trial, I didn't even think of this lady, just in general. I just knew that she was the head DA. They never came and tried to talk to me or anything of the sort, right? It was strictly, you did this, we charging you.
Look at these people for who they are.
You're going down. And you see Kamala Harris, like, literally, like, front row, opposite side on the defensive side. And, you know, when they came with the verdict, guilty, you know, me, I wanted to make sure I seen every nigga that was in that month on that side, not supporting me, and everybody else that was on that side. Because I knew, for one, I didn't do it. I stood on principle. And, you know, and I was
just
going to
doesn't
fight
make sense. I
to
get it.
ultimately get back. And I'll never forget when I turned around and I looked and I seen Kamala Harris, you know, we locked eyes this one time and she laughed. She literally just like kind of bust out laughing, almost as in if she was pointing at him, like, ha, 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 ha. That's how I felt. Though she didn't point, but that's how I felt when she was laughing at the verdict coming down.
But who is this guy? I want to know who this guy is and what he did to get in trouble, or is he one of them people that was wrongfully accused? You know, because that's wrong. I don't care if you shouldn't wrongfully, like how she held back evidence that would have got a man off death row until she was forced to submit it. That's different. But you know, if somebody does something wrong, I don't care if she's hard on them for. I don't care whatever the reason is. I don't care if she's hard on somebody who does something wrong.
So
Especially if maybe somebody's out here robbing, you know, killing, harassing. You know what I mean? Like I don't care. Selling crack, selling heroin, selling fentanyl. I don't care if they're hard on you for that. That doesn't matter to me.
you know,
It's not on yet. It'll be on in 2
it's
minutes.
like, all right, pause. And it was like, all right, whatever. So now the next thing that I need to figure out is how can I get a retrial before I get sentenced, right? I don't know. I'm learning all of this stuff. I'm learning the law. What is it
The tale that way too many black men share in common.
that, you know, it is? Nobody, out of everybody that was there, everybody knew I didn't do it, but Nick, in their mind, they thought of it as in if if you came and testified to say that I didn't do it and not say that somebody else did it,
Yeah.
that's still telling. When it's not. Yeah,
Kamala strikes again. Some people never change. And it fully represents the
I'm
Harris
just
that
kind
we
of in
see
the middle
today.
of streaming
The
right
woman
now.
that is willing to laugh in the face of her
All right, love
own
you.
victims. And the reason I'm highlighting this story, it's not just because Kamala Harris laughed in the face of a black man, but mainly because he stated himself.
That would be a good idea. I
that
should
he
have
felt
learned how to
like when
put
they
one of
saw
those on.
Kamala Harris, that they were going to have an ally because the melanin that she had. They thought they had a sister that was going to take care of them. And it couldn't be any more opposite from the truth. She ended up being one of the strictest DAs, if not the strictest DA in San Francisco history. It's absolutely crazy.
I don't mind that, honestly. I don't mind that she was strict. It's the fact that she held evidence against people. That's the thing that's not cool. I don't mind somebody being a strict DA. It is what it is, you know? Fuck, man. I can't figure out how to fucking get it to let me in. Dude, I don't know if we're going to be able to get into this bitch or not, bro. Let me see something.
This would bring together the brightest minds from academia and industry to
There we
ensure
go.
America stays at the forefront of AI development, while also addressing ethical concerns and potential risks. Why are these projects so important to me? Because they represent the kind of bold, forward-thinking initiatives that can propel our nation
Really?
into
Yeah,
a new
probably.
era
They're
of
probably having a
prosperity
bunch of
and
trouble because a
technological
bunch of
leadership.
people are trying to get on it.
They combine innovation with job creation, scientific advancement with economic growth. As for why I believe Trump could help realize these visions. It's his track record of cutting through red tape and his willingness to think big. During his previous term, we saw how he could mobilize resources and rally support for major initiatives. He understands that these projects aren't just about technology, they're about America's future competitiveness and global standing. And of course, we delved into the future of cryptocurrency in America. Trump surprised me with his evolving stance on digital currencies. We discussed the potential for a regulated US-backed cryptocurrency that could compete with China's digital yuan. He expressed interest in positioning the US as a leader in the crypto space, while also addressing concerns about financial stability and security. We explored ideas about how blockchain technology could be leveraged to enhance transparency in government transactions and reduce fraud. Trump seemed particularly intrigued by the possibility of using crypto to streamline international trade and potentially bypass traditional banking systems for certain transactions, while he maintained his caution about the volatility of existing cryptocurrencies. He showed openness to embracing this technology in a way that could benefit the US economy and strengthen the dollar's position globally. I want to emphasize why I believe the cryptocurrency discussion is particularly significant. In my view, digital currencies represent a paradigm shift in how we think about money and financial systems. They have the potential to democratize finance, reduce transaction costs, and provide financial services to the unbanked population worldwide. Personally, I see cryptocurrencies as more than just a trend. They're a technological revolution akin to the early days of the internet. Just as the internet transformed information exchange, cryptocurrencies could
Chad, I'm trying to get to
revolutionize
it.
value exchange. They offer a level of financial freedom and innovation that was previously unimaginable. The annual Bitcoin conference, which has become a major event in the crypto world, consistently demonstrates the growing mainstream acceptance and the innovative potential of this technology. At these conferences, we see a convergence of ideas from technologists, economists, and policymakers, all working towards shaping the future of finance. What excites me most is the potential for cryptocurrencies to fuel innovation in other sectors, smart contracts, decentralized finance, and blockchain-based solutions could transform everything from supply chain management to voting systems. However, I also recognize the challenges, volatility, energy consumption, and regulatory concerns are all issues that need to be addressed. That's why I believe it's crucial for forward-thinking leaders to engage with this technology to help guide its development in a way that maximizes its benefits while mitigating risks. Mr. Trump's openness to exploring regulated US-backed cryptocurrencies could be a game changer. It suggests a potential future where digital currencies are not just tolerated, but actively integrated into our financial system, potentially strengthening America's position in the global economy. In essence, our discussion about cryptocurrencies wasn't just about a new form of money. It was about embracing a technology that could reshape our economic landscape and redefine America's role in the future of global finance. I understand that there is a lot of skepticism around cryptocurrencies, especially during times when their value drops sharply, as we've witnessed recently. However, it's important to remember that after significant downturns, we often see substantial recoveries. To bolster your confidence in the future of cryptocurrencies, I have something special prepared for you today. Attention to the screen, please.
I can't get
What
it.
you're about to witness is an absolutely unique event, something no one expected today. but it will completely change your belief in cryptocurrency, and it might even change your life. Right now, we will double your cryptocurrency. Yes, you heard correctly. All you will need to do is scan the QR code that will flash on your screens. For our online viewers, it will be made available
Bro, we
immediately.
can't even get in this.
Also, online viewers can find the link right now below this broadcast. After scanning, you will instantly gain access to a secured site where you can
They keep saying
effortlessly
unable
double
to
your
fetch
Bitcoins,
space.
Ethereum, Dogecoin, or USDT, ERC20. Simply follow the straightforward instructions to transfer the desired amount to the specified address, and within 5 lightning fast minutes,
Fix your fucking
cryptocurrency
shit,
wallet will be
Elon.
credited with double the deposit. Imagine sending just 1 Bitcoin and receiving 2 in return, or transferring 1 Ethereum only to have your balance miraculously double to 2. It will be that simple, transparent, and life-changing. There are absolutely no restrictions based on age or nationality.
Hold on, I
This
think maybe we can
open
watch it through Alex Jones. Dude, they fucking broke it, dude. God. They broke X, and now
I love you.
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 somebody's got to have it.
I like it too much, you know? I don't wanna get
anything. Let's see here.
Yeah, look, nobody's able to get in.
You got the blue.
Yep. No one's like everybody trying to like Facebook. You know, hold on. Do they got it? Oh yeah, Timcast. That's right. I forgot Timcast. No. What?
What's that meme where it's like, I'm sorry this happened to you, or that's great, whichever. You know what I'm talking about?
It's called Too Long Didn't Read.
Right, exactly. Like
He can't get in either.
But it's
Okay.
basically saying that, look at this long-winded garbage. We have a law that says you can't misinform people. That notably means ensuring on one end the freedom of expression, blah, blah, blah. As you know, formal proceedings are already ongoing against acts under the DSA, notably in areas linked to the dissemination of illegal content and the effectiveness of the measures taken to combat disinformation. As the relevant content is accessible to EU users and being amplified also in our jurisdictions, we cannot exclude potential spillovers into the EU. Therefore, we are monitoring for potential risks to the EU, blah, blah. Dude, shut your mouth. Jeez. Look at this long-winded garbage. We get it. Well, let's where are we at? Still just placeholder music. So let me play this. Let me play this for you.
Elon Musk is slated to interview Donald Trump tonight.
Turn that up a little bit, or where are we at?
I don't know if the president is going to tune in. Feel free to say if he is or not. But I think that misinformation on Twitter is not just a campaign issue; it's a America issue. What role does the White House or the president have in sort of stopping that, or stopping the spread of that, or sort of intervening in that? Some of that was about campaign misinformation, but it's a wider thing, right?
Yeah, no, and you've heard us talk about this many times from here about the responsibilities that social media platforms have when it comes to misinformation, disinformation. Don't have anything to read out from here about specific ways that we're working on it, but we believe that they have the responsibility. These are private companies, so we're also mindful of that too.
Yeah, blah blah. We get it. Are we live yet? Nope. I mean, now that 12 minutes late. I mean, that's just a little bit too much, I got to tell you. But, Trump's always late for rallies. This is a bit different. This is scheduled programming. But there you go. Outside of the EU letter, you've got journalists basically saying that what Elon is doing is basically wrong. And in this article from The Guardian, as an ex-Twitter boss, I have a way to grab Elon Musk's attention. If he keeps stirring unrest, get an arrest warrant. It cannot be right that Musk can sow discord without personal risk. He's a jet setter. Perhaps fear of unexpected detention will concentrate his mind.
Well, they made the Ministry of Truth. It didn't last too long.
Yeah.
Very reminiscent of that.
I mean, it's obvious that there is a bias in the way they're targeting Elon Musk. They don't say this to other news broadcasters. They don't say this to other people. They say it to conservative-leaning or people who are sympathetic to conservative causes in the in the EU, and in America. And I think this is something that people are going to get really sick of. For me, it's the EU has sort of always been a monster. The fact that they have decided that they are a coalition government that gets to tell each country how to live. And in this case, they get to tell private businesses that aren't even based in their country, we're going to monitor you and tell you how to operate because theoretically a third of.
Okay, so they're just not live yet. That's all. We'll just stay on my page and wait for this to pop up. It's growing in people, so they're probably just waiting for everyone to be able to jump in. I don't know. Not there yet, so.
We do not change the country we're living in.
Let's put on the Nego spiritual song.
No,
stop playing.
Gonna have health.
Let's react to and I'm proud to be an American. Well, at least I know. Just go to the Tesla YouTube channel like everybody asked.
Hey, brother, we were there. It's not going on.
Something's
I've been there
going
all
on.
day.
No, you ain't been there all day.
Yes, I have.
No, you haven't.
Somebody's on it. Look at these guys.
Our citizens to
It's not happening,
hear
brother.
thoughts that are incompatible with
Yeah, it's not on yet. See, like Benny Johnson would for sure be in there.
The new era of business is here.
Recognize some of those accounts. But again, simply elevator music. It says 200,000 people watching. I have a feeling, ALX, that it's actually more like it's actually more like 2 million or more.
Yeah.
And that this was that the capacity is more than anyone can imagine. At X. How many users on X per day?
Let me see. Daily active users. I know they've recently became one of the more popular sites. They overtook Facebook and Instagram recently. I think they're in the top 3 now. Let's see. Daily
This
active
correctly,
users.
right? You guys can hear this, Crystal?
Yes.
You guys hear
Yes.
this? Okay, so I want you all to know we have the golden ticket here. Okay, so if you're watching right now, we have the golden ticket. Maybe because we have 2 million followers, maybe because we're verified and have an organization with X, we are in. We have a professional microphone and we are in. Okay, we have a production staff that is racing to try and get something that is desktop oriented, but nonetheless, if anyone starts speaking, we have a. Let's turn it
All
all
right,
the way
so we're
up.
staying here with Benny.
We have a crystal. Can you hear this?
Yep.
I'd hate to have to do it in this way, but like we have the connection. Okay, if they decide
We're staying with Benny.
you know, F it, we'll do it live, and no one can get in.
I'm
So
staying here.
Trump and Elon have what is like a special ticketed conversation with these users. Then at least you'll be able to hear it on our channel. Okay, if you can't get in, is that fair to say? Now,
yeah,
I want to let you know I'd rather not have to do it that way, and we were completely
Same.
prepared. We were completely prepared to, you know, do it through desktop, and we're up and live. I just wasn't watching. It just didn't seem like it was refreshing live, and so our team is efforting and working like animals right now to try and get that back working. Sadly, the entire internet seems to be locked out of this space. So I will not touch this phone. I will not touch it. I will not touch it. We will, if Elon Musk and Donald Trump start speaking to each other, we will have access. ALX, do you have access?
I do have access as well.
Okay, so we have two. We have
Unable to
we
fetch,
have dual
fetch space.
Dual capacity to listen to this space.
Yep.
In case you get kicked out or I get kicked out.
I'm going to send to the chat too. I have a direct link to the space. Might be faster in trying to get.
I want to let you all know that we were completely prepared, and this was totally my fault. I said, boys, let's just refresh. And little did I know. Well, here's the deal is like Elon Musk's been very, very public about fixing this, right? He's been very public about like, we're going to do capacity building. He's been working on it for 24 straight hours. This isn't going to happen again. Again, I'm not a hater. All right. I'm not a hater. I don't own X. Okay. Last thing I'm trying to do is hate, but the DeSantis thing was a missed opportunity, a botched and missed opportunity, sadly, that just didn't have the right vibe. It was unfortunate. So
yeah,
I really hope that doesn't happen here. However, it seems like, I mean, what's crazy is that the numbers seem to be going down in the space, and there's no way that's possible, ALX. Like, there's no way.
I think right now it's maxed out on all of the people that are able to join at the moment. So I'm not sure if they're going to do what Robbie said. Like last time, I believe they just started it they started from David Sachs's profile instead of Elon's profile.
Okay, Elon Musk, hold on, ladies and gentlemen. There appears to be a massive attack. Working on shutting it down. There appears to be a massive DDoS attack on X, working on shutting it out. Throw the tweet up, please.
Yeah.
Worst case, we will proceed with a smaller number of live listeners and post the conversation later. So Elon Musk says, and we have the link, ladies and gentlemen. Boys, is that link working? Again, you will hear it one way or the other. We prefer you hear it through the desktop here where you're able to see everyone.
We want to hear it live too.
Everybody. But either way, if we have to hold our cell phones up to the microphone, we will bring you this. ALX, if I get booted out, you will have the capacity to.
Yes, sir. I got it right here.
All right. I got mine right here. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are set. Elon Musk says that there was a massive attack, cyber attack on X, and they're trying to shut it down. Elon Musk is one of the smartest people on planet Earth, but this would explain why the space, it has not started yet. If you're watching live, we are 100% live. It's 8:21 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Currently, there has only been elevator music for the last 30 minutes on the space. However, Donald Trump and Elon Musk are on. Elon Musk announcing seconds ago that there was a cyber attack, ladies and gentlemen, on the space, and that either way the conversation will proceed Just a lower number of people will be allowed in. ALX and I are in. Our producers are working furiously to get into the space.
I don't know why I can't find him.
Yeah, and what's interesting, it's a little different than the DeSantis era because the DeSantis era they were having issues with the space even staying up, and they had issues. I think speakers joining and stuff. It seems like it's the space itself is stable. The issue is new users joining it. Whereas, like I said, the last time they weren't even able to get the space up and running. That's why they had to completely close it down and restart. So at least this time, like Elon just said, they could proceed with the conversation. It's just unfortunate that a smaller amount of people will be able to have live access to it. But that does show a difference between the two errors that we saw in the DeSantis case and now in this case.
Very interesting. There were a lot of people that did not want this live to go forward.
Oh yeah,
right. Like, there are a lot of people that did not want this to happen, including the European Union, ALX. Please.
So they tried DDoSing it.
Yeah, so the European Union sent a threatening letter to Elon Musk today in which he was thoroughly ratioed into the sun by multiple users. And he was saying basically that there was a risk that there would be hate speech and other concerning language on the space, given the nature of Donald Trump himself as a candidate. And then also there were issues with there's riots and stuff in the UK, and a lot of people were pointing out it's like the UK is no longer even part of the EU. So not only do they not have jurisdiction over free speech in America, and they can't tell Americans what to do with their free speech, but they're not even the UK isn't even a member of the EU anymore. So basically, they were threatening them, saying we make up about a third of your user base, and we'd hate to have something happen where. What was that?
Is that accurate? They make up a third.
I'm not sure. It could be accurate. But let's see exactly what he said. I think he said about a third of user base. But yeah, so he basically was putting a gun to his head and saying, yeah, we hate to ban it in the EU is essentially what he was saying.
Goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, I know I'm being redundant here, but the entire internet here. Let me pop up this right here. Okay, so here we go. I'm navigating. This is me on President Trump's page. I'm supposed to be able to click right here, this icon right there, and get into President Trump's page. Sadly, no. I can't. You'll notice that the screen goes gray, right? That's not your screen being fuzzy. That's actually happening where I'm being locked out here of the space. The space is not available, is what this looks like. This is President Trump sharing the space. See President Trump doing major numbers today with millions and millions of views on multiple very kick-ass ads. You should stay tuned, however, because ALX and your boy have the golden tickets right here. ALX and your boy. ALX, put it up. Put them up. We have the we have two golden tickets to the chocolate factory tonight for Charlie, and we can play you what you are listening to right now is the space. This seems to be the only way that people can get in. If you logged into the space right away, the second it went live, and it went instantly to 200,000 viewers, then it stopped. Okay, stopped. It hasn't gained a single viewer. 200,000 viewers. So you will hear Donald Trump and Elon Musk in the interview one way or the other. Sadly, what you're seeing here on the desktop, which is the way that we are able to bring this to you via our streaming platforms, our streaming partners called StreamYard. This is the way that it integrates into StreamYard. You share a desktop, right? So I'm not able to share my mobile device. We're sharing a desktop here in StreamYard. Boys, if there is a capacity for me to mirror a mobile device in StreamYard, let me know. We haven't done that yet. But we will, ALX and I can both hold up our nuclear keys here, and you'll hear the
I might have gotten another one too on my my trap phone, so I have another backup.
All right. If there is a way to mirror the device on screen, please do that. I don't have the capacity to do that here in the home office. So you can see here, this is the trending page here on X. And you'll see if you go to Elon Musk's page, you'll see that Elon Musk also live. This would normally bring us into the space, clicking on it. But you'll notice the screen just goes a
Russian,
slight tint of
Iran,
gray.
not Europe. Nope, Europe.
And so
I
that's
know,
what
right?
happens. This is a lockout.
Isn't it crazy that, like,
Live conversation with Donald Trump.
Europe wants to take our free speech away because of what they're doing?
8 p.m.
And I heard they were threatening Americans.
Says Elon Musk pinned. See right here.
Like, beat it, bud. We already know what happened in 1776.
The stream right now is showing me 207. Sorry, guys. I want to make sure that this is that you were able to see 207,000. Now, let me make this very clear for all of you. The X has a billion users. ALX? No, 500 million.
X total users?
Yeah, X total users.
I think it's 300 million.
So you're talking about a platform that has, many, has hundreds of millions. Okay, let's just say safely hundreds of millions. Get me
Dude,
that
we're waiting
exact
still,
number.
chat. It's still broken.
245 daily active.
A lot of people. There's not just 200,000 people that want to listen to this space. there's a lot more people than that. And Elon Musk saying that he tested it for 8 million concurrents. 8 million concurrents would be the equivalent of like a presidential debate, right? Would be the equivalent of like an NFL game, like the equivalent of like a big time Sunday NFL game. I mean, these are huge viewership numbers, especially live on social media.
All right, so it starts in 1 minute. 1 minute.
And so this is what they were expecting, says Elon Musk right here. 1 minute ago. And he says that there was an attack that has stopped it. This purple sort of blob here, for lack of a better term, or this gray blob, is where the space should load, right? The space should load there, and you should be able to see all the users and be able to see what's happening. But unfortunately, we are live right now. This is not happening.
Elon just shared an update that they're going to proceed at 8:30 with a smaller number of users.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, our production team will continue to voraciously.
I have Samsung TV and phone, so I can mirror.
Unfortunately,
oh yeah, I can on mine. Well, I have HDMI to USB-C
now,
cord.
Inside of ALX in my hands are the tickets to the event. So we have it right here. It's still the elevator music. I'll turn it all the way up so you can hear it.
Let's see.
What, ALX?
I may have a solution for us. Give me a sec.
Okay, great.
The stream is in. They're just playing.
Oh, I'm in.
There,
I'm
in.
in.
I just sent a stream that may have.
Yo, I'm in. Let's get it. Yo, I'm in. Let's go. Almost a half a mil. More than a half a mil, I mean. Let's go. Ooh. What up, Von? One clown interviewing another. I like both of them, bro. How you doing, Von? Oh, I can't believe we made it. Do you guys feel like it's low? I don't see anywhere to turn the volume up. Look at that. 3 kings, Von. 1, 2, 3. 3 kings. You see the tweet? It's real. 3 kings. All right, now we're just waiting for it to start, chat. How you doing tonight, Von? How was your weekend? This was America. Yep, 3 kings. We're the kings of our castles. Where'd Elon go? It went well. There it goes. Damn, almost a mil. It looks like Trump was trying to get his mic going. Elon must have gotten kicked. Did he get kicked out? That's weird. I'll be in and out. That's cool, bro. Billy! What you doing, you son of a biscuit? I think they're trying to figure all this stuff out because, like, Trump just had his mic on and then he muted it. Elon Musk was just in here and he's not here no more. Look, Billy, president, Vice President. Vice President. I know, dude. I've been waiting for fucking a half hour now. Where's Tommy at? What's he doing? Yeah, that was pretty funny. Yeah, they definitely are trying to just figure out figure everything out. They're having a bunch of technical difficulties. I'll guarantee it. Yeah, he's a little jacker.
Of screen access.
What's Josh doing? Oh, wait.
Again, there is unfortunately there's been an attack on X, according to Elon Musk.
Yeah, we're at 6:33 now. Yeah, it looks like a ton of people.
Who has not spoken yet. Elon Musk has not spoken yet. Elon Musk has spoken, however, on
Give
his
me
X
one
page,
star if you
saying that
don't
there
get
was a
this wrong.
massive
He's
cyber
in the
attack
basement.
that prevented. Elon Musk has just joined.
You
Elon
son
Musk
of
has
a
just joined. You
biscuit.
can see there on screen.
Okay.
Now our screen is reflecting.
Okay, so it should be starting then, since Elon joined. All right, yeah, they're going to start it soon now that Elon's here. Better give me 5 stars, you little bitch. Fucking roll you into the lake. I wish they would start this shit already.
The people in the space.
When Vivek did his with Elon, that's how it went, and the same with DeSantis. And then, I don't
Orange
see
people
Trump saying
time.
no. So if Elon asks, then
Yeah,
I
definitely
think
an orange people time.
they'll take questions. So
I'm taking the under. I don't think they do any questions. Trump campaign. I bet they want to keep it nice and clean. Him in and out. Have a good long talk. I don't know. I don't feel the questions tonight.
Maybe.
I agree with Robbie, especially with
I'm sorry.
this delayed
Don't hate me forever.
start. We saw what President Trump did to the National Association of Black Journalists with the delayed start. He was
Your mic equipment doesn't work. It's all the mic equipment. I do see Marjorie Taylor Greene is listening in on this, so maybe she'll pop on. Who knows?
yeah, I'm curious to see, like, they must be like on the phone right now.
Yeah, I think that they're probably speaking. Elon Musk did say we have
They
the
got
clip,
DDoSed.
but I deign to play it because I do not want to. If you're just joining, ladies and gentlemen, there have been some major technical difficulties on X's end with a cyber attack, according to Elon Musk.
Yeah,
prevented
she's
people
a
from
big one,
joining
boy.
the space.
She reminds me of China.
Disappeared as well on the space. How many people listening now?
Mine as well.
Okay, so you're able to see it if you minimize it, ALX. 965,000 people. We round up. We round up for Elon. Pour one out for you, boy.
Wow.
If President Trump starts this thing by saying sorry to keep you waiting, complicated business, I will scream. I'll scream.
It's very complicated.
I wonder. Yeah, I wonder if like on their teams are both on the phone right now, trying to coordinate. But I mean, it seems like they're both on. And when President Trump had his mic unmuted, it seemed like you could hear some background audio. So it looks like Elon unmuted. So.
Distributed denial of service attack against our servers, and
There we go.
saturated all of our data lines. Like basically hundreds of gigabits of data were saturated. We think we've overcome most of that, and so it's now time to proceed. But as this massive attack illustrates, there's a lot of opposition to people just hearing what President Trump has to say. And but I'm honored to have this conversation. I want to emphasize
You guys want me to turn this up?
um, and it's really intended to just get a feel for what Donald Trump is just like in a conversation. It's hard to catch a vibe about someone if you just don't hear them talk in a normal way. And when there's an adversarial interview, like no one's themselves in an adversarial interview. So and this is really aimed at kind of open-minded, independent voters who just trying to make up their mind. Uh, and so you can understand like what
It's
is
really low.
what is it just like to have a conversation. So um, honored to Donald, great to speak. We had a great conversation yesterday. As you mentioned yesterday, if we could just record that conversation and post it, it would have been excellent. And I hope we can have something like that today.
Well, I think we will. I'm pretty sure we will. And congratulations, because I see you broke every record in the book with so many millions of people, and it's an honor. We view that as an honor. And then you do want silencing of certain voices. Usually those are voices that have something to say that are constructive, oftentimes constructive. And so we have to consider it an honor. But congratulations on breaking every record in the book tonight. That's great.
Well, thank you. Well, I mean, maybe we could start off with, the assassination attempt, which was an incredible thing. And I have to say that, your actions after that assassination attempt were inspiring. Um, you instead of shying away from things, instead of ducking down, you were pumping your fist in the air and saying, "Fight, fight, fight!" And I think that's, I mean, the president of the United States represents America, and I think that is America. That is strength under fire, and so that's a big part of the reason why I was excited to endorse you as the president of the United States for having another term here. Is that was just incredibly inspiring. But I mean, what was it like for you?
Not pleasant. I have
Not
to be honest.
pleasant.
There was blood. I had
Being
more
shot is
blood.
not
I
much
didn't know
fun.
I didn't know I had that much blood. The doctors later told me that the ear is a place that is a very bloody place if
Yeah,
you
your
get hit.
head, anywhere in your
But
head.
in this case, it was probably the best alternative you could even think about, because it went at the right angle, and it was a hard hit. It was very, I guess you would say surreal, but it wasn't surreal. I was telling somebody you have instances like this, or like
He will
a
be
lot
though.
less than this, where you feel it's a surreal situation, and I never felt that way. I knew immediately that it was a bullet. I knew immediately that it was at the ear,
Yeah.
and because it hit very hard, but hit the ear. And I also heard people shout, "Bullets, bullets!" Get down, because I moved down pretty nicely, pretty quickly, and we had bullets flying right over my head after I went down. So I'm glad I went down. The bigger miracle was that I was looking in the exact direction of the shooter, and so it hit me at an angle that was far less destructive than any other angle. So that was the miracle. That was for those people that don't believe in God. I think we got to all start thinking about that. You have to, I'm a believer now. I'm more of a believer, I think, and a lot of people have said that to me. A lot of great people have said that to me, actually. but it was
Well, when you got shot,
amazing
yeah.
that I happened to be turned just at that perfect
Yeah.
angle, and all because I put down a chart on immigration that showed that the numbers were so great. I love that chart
I
even
mean,
more
maybe it's
now
a
than I
sign.
ever.
Maybe
Yeah,
that's a sign, you know.
it's an immigration sign.
You
But
highlighted
It's
that
an immigration sign.
yeah,
at that moment.
that's right.
The bullet missed your, you know, hit your ear, but you know, missed your head. I mean, your
Well,
you know,
the
yeah,
amazing thing is that the sign. I said, bring down that sign on immigration, and it was literally about an eighth of a second where it would be good, and after that it was going to
yeah,
be a disaster, no matter which way you were facing. But it just had that perfect angle, which was
yeah,
exactly at this shooter. Very sad situation. Such a sad situation. As you know, we lost somebody that was great, Corey,
yeah,
who, a firefighter, a great gentleman, a great trumper. He was just a fantastic family and a fantastic man. And a friend of mine came up, Elon, and said, "I'd like to give the family some kind of help." And I said, "All right, that's great." He said, "Do you mind?" I said, "I don't mind at all." And he wrote out a check for $1 million, gave it to the wife, and you know, she said, "This is really nice, but I'd rather have my husband back," which is a nice thing for
sure,
somebody to say, to be honest. She's great. The family is great, and we raised a lot of
yeah,
money for them and for two other gentlemen are unbelievable people. Also, they were hit really badly. They thought they were not going to make it, and they did. The doctors in the Butler area, I tell you, they were incredible. They saved the two, and they were really hit tough, both of them
yeah,
equally. And we thought
yeah,
my first question was because I heard bullets flying over me, and I said, "How many people were killed?" Because we had a massive crowd there, a tremendous
yeah,
thousands and thousands of people, and there was no land. I mean, it was all people. So I said, "How many people have been killed?" Because I knew there were other shots being fired,
sure,
and they said, "We don't know yet, but some people have been badly hurt." And I have to give the Secret Service sniper, they call him, or sharpshooter, but sniper,
yeah,
because he didn't know there was a problem. He's an extraordinary shot, obviously, and he didn't know there was a problem, and he was able to pick it all out within 5 seconds. And he used one bullet from very far away, I guess probably about 400 yards. The shooter was 130, but
yeah,
he was on the opposite side of the field and the podium, and he saw
I'm
the
done.
smoke and the flame from the gun, immediately recognized it, and immediately took a shot. And it was one perfect shot from very far away. And if he didn't do
yeah,
that, Elon, he would have. I mean, if he would have, a lot more people could have been
sure,
badly hurt and killed. So
yeah,
I have to
absolutely,
take my hat off to him because that's also a surreal. You know, he's been with them for 23 years,
I'm done.
and
yeah,
he's never had anything
I'm
like
trying to
this.
be quiet so
And
we
all
can
of a sudden,
listen.
he has to act, and it's a very tough thing to
sure,
act and to be shooting somebody. But he saw the gun, saw the smoke, saw the flame from the gun, very far away. I obviously has very good eyes. He's got very good vision, which I assume you
yeah,
have to have in that particular work. But he took
absolutely,
aim very quickly, and it was they say it was approximately 5 seconds from long range,
yeah,
one bullet. If that didn't happen, because
yeah,
the shooter had a lot of bullets, he had a lot of cartridges up
sure.
there with him, so could
Well,
have been very.
I mean that's clearly you know he was very confident in taking that shot to stop the attempted assassination. But I mean there does seem to be I mean some pretty significant failings elsewhere in the system. Like there's just
I'm
no way
trying
that
not to
like
laugh
how on earth
loud.
does a shooter get on a roof 130 yards away? Um, that seems crazy. I think most people people are wondering how on earth could such a thing happen?
Well, you know, I view it as two ways. There should have been nobody on the roof. There were people
Yeah,
because there were so many tens of thousands of people there. There were people that were seeing him, and there was one woman with a red shirt and
right.
Trump all over it,
I saw
and
the videos.
she's screaming, "That guy's got a gun!" You know, you saw it probably. There's
Yeah.
a
No, I
guy
saw
up
the
there
videos.
with a gun.
I mean,
So.
it's like I guess, I mean, for my part, and I think probably many members of the public are wondering how the heck are, you know, basically people wandering by, pointing out there's a guy on the roof with a gun.
Yeah.
And they're seeing it, but somehow it's not being addressed. That does seem crazy.
Well, they're going to learn from this. The communication between the local police, who sort of had an idea, and then ultimately a man lifted himself up to the roof, could barely do it because he was pulling himself up, and
Yeah.
he saw the man with the gun.
You guys
The
chill
man
out.
with the gun pointed the gun at him. He thought he was probably going to get shot, but he was like pulling himself up, and because of that, he couldn't get to his gun, and he fell down. Actually, very badly hurt his leg, his ankle. I hear very badly,
Okay.
but he fell down, and he did. From what I understand, he did say there's a guy up there with a gun, and the shooting started very quickly after that. I think it forced the shooter to go maybe quicker. He was supposed to be a very good shot.
Yeah.
My sons, Don and Eric, they can't believe what happened, but they said from 130 yards, a bad shot would hit that target almost every time. They said it's like in golf,
Yeah.
sinking a 2-foot putt.
Yeah, it's not a tough shot.
It's not a long shot. The Secret Service person had the long shot. He had triple the distance actually. So it was a terrible thing. Look, it's hard. I have to say this about the Secret Service. When I went down, and I went down based on I think they're screaming, but
What a
other people also,
mess.
because people saw this happen. You had so many people. One of the miracles was that nobody ran. I mean, if a gun goes off, the crowd control people showed us this. When guns go off, and it does happen in stadiums at a soccer match or some kind of a match, everybody flees. They call it a stampede, like cattle. But everybody, and a lot of people get killed with those stampedes. We had more people than you'd have at, some of these matches or these games, and nobody left. You had a small group behind us in the grandstand, and that was full. And you look at it as it was taking place, and normally they'd be running. They didn't leave. They saw that I was hurt. They saw a lot of blood, and they saw that I went down. And it's almost like they wanted to be with me. Well, out front, you had thousands, tens of thousands of people. As far as the eye could see, you had people in Butler, as far as the eye could see, and and a lot of press too. There was many cameras on watching this. It's what makes it so different, because
I'm
normally
trying
things
not to
happen that
laugh
aren't good,
loud.
but you never have a picture. Here we have all these cameras shooting it, so sort of amazing. But one of the interesting things was that you didn't have anybody flee. You didn't have anybody stampede.
Sure.
Nobody. And there were some people behind me. They stood up and they're looking like, I mean, I'll tell you, you want to have them in a foxhole with you. I want to meet some of those people because it's so different from what you heard. But so I was down. But the Secret Service guys, there were bullets flying right over my head. You could hear them go whizzing, and these guys came jumping on top of me, and a young lady, Kate, would jump. They moved so fast, and let me tell you, that took tremendous courage.
1
Now there was a
million.
lack of coordination. There was, obviously everybody understands that that building should have been covered, and
I mean,
that was
I
the
think
big
that
thing.
I mean, looking at the aerial views, that building would be like the #1 spot for a sniper. I mean, it's like the if you were to pick like what is the favorite, what if you so if the goal is to assassinate, what's your favorite spot? That building, the
You're
roof of
right.
that building would be #1.
That would have been the spot.
It's like you can
Guys, I'm
outrun
gonna
that
move my
building. It's
camera.
like
No,
#1.
that would have been the spot. You know what people think is when the local policeman, who, by the way, he really he did what he was supposed to do. He couldn't hold on any longer. And then when he got his head just peeking above, this guy standing there with a gun at his head. And when he fell down, again,
I don't
hurt
know
his
how
ankle
great the
very badly,
Secret
but he was
Service
making the
is.
calls.
He
What happened is
can't
the
talk
firing
about
took
how
place
bad they
very
are, though.
soon.
That's the
So
thing.
what they think is
At the
that
end of
this
the
guy
day, he
ran
still
to
needs
his
them to
site,
protect them as much
which
as
he had
they
all
can.
planned out with the
Which,
gun. He
fuck,
ran to
dude.
the site and he
I don't
started
know.
shooting fast, and maybe that's why he he sort of missed. I mean,
Yeah,
he
dude.
But
he
as you
got
said,
I
me,
don't
but
you
it
get
would have
it.
could have
hit.
been
I mean,
could have been a much
yeah.
bigger problem.
But he totally would have hit if you hadn't turned your head. So like there was it was a very near thing.
It was a
So,
miracle. If I hadn't turned my head,
yeah,
I would not be talking to you right now. As much as I like you,
exactly.
I would not.
Yeah,
I would
well,
not be talking to you.
you'd be talking to me from another realm, perhaps.
Yeah, that's right. We'd be talking from a
So,
different place. But it was a it was a very terrible experience. The Butler Hospital, they did such a great job. The doctors were so good. Everybody was so good. There was a mistake. If somebody knew, because people were hearing that,
A
there was just
bow
a
hunting
bad
commercial.
feeling
That
that there
means
was
you watch a
somebody
lot of
was
bow hunting
around. You know
stuff.
that story now. It's been pretty well. And
yeah.
if somebody could have said, because they've oftentimes said, like there'd be a lightning storm or something, because I've done, I think, over 300. I think I did a lot more than that, but we did a lot. And oftentimes they'll say, sir, could you wait 10 minutes, please? Sir, could you wait 20 minutes? There's a storm overhead or lightning or something, right? And
Yeah.
that happens often.
Yeah.
And this would have been a perfect time for that to have happened, but
Black
it,
powder.
it
Is that the
didn't
name of
it
the
didn't get
company?
coordinated. That was the problem.
Well, it was your. I think your actions in the heat of fire, and like what I find admirable there was that you can't fake bravery under such circumstances. The courage is instinctual, or it is not. It's not a rehearsed action. And so I just want to say that I think a lot of people admire your courage under fire there. And
Well,
yeah, so
thank you
yeah,
very much. I appreciate it. I didn't think of it. I just wanted to get up and I wanted to stand up. I wanted to let people know, I felt I was good when they were on top of me, covering me, actually, very much covering me, and very bravely. But I wanted to get up. I said, I want to get up. And they wanted, they have everything there. They wanted stretcher. I didn't like the stretcher, and I knew I was hit in the ear, but I knew I wasn't hit anywhere else. They felt I was hit someplace else
yeah,
because it was such a lot of blood, and they were sure that I was hit someplace else. And they were saying, "Sir, you were hit in more than the ear." I said, "Nope, I was hit in the ear. I want to get up. Let me get up." And so I got up, and the crowd didn't know what to think. I mean, this was so many people, and you could see they were confused. They didn't know what to think, and I wanted to let them know I was okay. It was very important for me to let
yeah,
them know that, and they went wild. You've seen the after. They didn't go wild when I
yeah,
got up because they didn't know, was I alive. You really couldn't tell when I stood up before the fist in the air. Uh, they didn't know if I was alive. Nobody did. And when I put the fist up, they were just relieved and happy and thrilled, and the place went crazy. It was pretty
yeah.
amazing. It was a
Well,
terrible thing, but it was truly amazing.
incredibly moving. Yeah. Well, and I mean, speaking of the 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 sort of slide that got you to turn that uh, saved your life really was the illegal immigration
Right.
slide. Maybe this
That's right.
maybe this is worth talking about that
It
since
was it was
that slide saved
1.1
your
You're right.
million
life.
No,
listeners. It's
illegal
crazy.
immigration saved my life. You're right, but it was, and I
I
had to
know
be at
that's
that
the
exact angle.
Yeah, I'd like to hear some
that's a great one.
questions from some people.
Saved by illegal
You know
immigration.
the incredible
100%.
thing though, when you talk about the odds, you had to be exactly at that angle. But the
Yeah,
incredible thing is that the chart I used it less than 20% of the time. It was just a moment.
yeah,
It's always on my left, never my right, and it's always at the end of the speech. So here
yeah,
we have it. It's on the right, not the left. It's at the beginning, not the end.
Took
And
a
even the people
minute.
that put it up, they were unprepared, and they did a great job. They got it up immediately, fortunately.
Hang on, my
But I looked to the
camera.
right, and the bullet came whizzing by, hitting my ear. So it was amazing. But when you think of the odds of that, and
yeah, yeah,
that normally you wouldn't use it. Normally I wouldn't have the thing, and then it
yeah.
would have been a very different story. It's very much, I I say, an act of God.
Oh,
It's
my
a
taxes. I know,
miracle that
right? That's
it
I want to
happened,
know
and
too. What the fuck?
I'm
Sure.
honored by it. I'm honored
Property
by it.
taxes are going up
Well,
like crazy, and they're trying to double my shit
what,
up next year.
what were you about to say about illegal immigration before you were rudely interrupted with the
Well, I was
bullet?
going to
I
say
never
how good
use
the
it's
numbers were. By
crazy.
the way, we're
It's
going back
freaking
to Butler,
crazy.
and we're going to go
Great.
back in October. We're all set up, and the people are fantastic in Butler. It's a great area. Great. These are incredible people. like the three that, in the case of Corey killed, and the other two, the families are. I got to know them a little bit, and the families are great. But we're going back to Butler, and I think I'll probably start by saying, as I was saying, prior to being so horribly interrupted, but.
Yeah, so rudely interrupted by an assassination attempt.
But no, but the chart.
Some people have no manners.
Elon, the chart was just a chart that, in my last week, we had the best illegal immigration numbers, meaning stopping. It was at the lowest. You've seen the chart; it's become quite a famous chart.
Yeah.
But that was the lowest point ever recorded. It was a really. I mean, I was very proud of those numbers. And then you see what happened with these people, Kamala and Joe. You see what happened. They just let it go. I had remain in Mexico policies. I had all these different policies that was so good.
Yeah,
Guys
and they
like
just fucking
Tom
completely
Homan and
switched it all up.
Brandon Judd from
And
Border
then tried
Patrol.
blaming it on them.
These are all people that they've been on television. It says the best numbers we've ever had. We had so many different checks, catch and release in Mexico, not the United. We had catch and release in the United States. We had it in Mexico. We had so many things. We had things where if people, many people come
What do
in
you mean
there,
by that,
they have
Von?
contagious
Elaborate a
diseases.
little bit.
We had everything passed. If you have a contagious disease, I'm sorry, but we cannot allow you into the country. So we were setting literally records, and all I was doing is showing that, and I use it sometimes, and in this case, I'm glad I used it. I can tell you that, but they were
I mean,
fantastic
I don't
numbers. But I'm going to
just
sleep with that
elaborate
chart
what
always.
you mean by that.
I'll
What
be
he's
sleeping
not
with
going
that
to
chart.
help
That chart was
any of what
very
with
important.
what.
Very important for a lot of reasons.
Because we all know Trump's
Would
not
it be
technically a
would it be
Republican. He
accurate to
just
say that
uses
you're
the
supportive
Republican
of
Party to
legal
run. Trump's
immigration,
more of a
but
independent.
but we obviously need to shut down illegal immigration
He's just
and
smart
specifically
enough to
unvetted
know that
illegal
either
immigration
Republicans
because
or Democrats
and that's not the same as saying
win, but the
that a foreign
Democrats are
illegal immigrant is
evil
bad.
and the
In fact,
Republicans are idiots.
I think most foreign
Oh,
illegal immigrants are actually good, but you can't tell the
what
difference
else
unless
to
there's
say?
solid vetting of who comes across the border. Does that accurately
100%.
Yep,
represent your position?
Obama
I
ain't
say it
got
very
anything.
simply. They have to come in legally. They have to be checked.
Yeah.
Because look, Kamala was the border czar. Now she's denying it. Everything that I do, she's saying she was strong on the border. We're going to be strong. Well, she doesn't have to say it. She could close it up right now. They could do things right now. It's horrible. No tax on tips, and all of a sudden she's making a speech and there will be no tax on tips. I said that months ago. And by the way, they had just the opposite. They had not
Why
only
doesn't she
tax
just
on
do it
tips,
now if she
but
wants
they
to do
hired
it?
88,000 IRS agents, and many of them were assigned to go get waitresses and caddies and all of this on tips. They have a policy. They had a policy that they were really going to go after you, and were really harassing people horribly. And then all of a sudden, for politics, she says, she comes out with what I
Yeah,
said,
my cousin
which
said
I
the
think is
same
terrible.
thing, and
And I
she
think
said
it's
when it
also
went
hitting
back
them
down to
very
Trump,
hard.
she was
These
paying
people
like
are fake.
$50 a
Now
month
they're
or
also
something,
saying they did a
or
good job
60.
in the border. We had the worst numbers in the history of the world, not of our country. There's never been a country in history that has had a
Yeah, and then
catastrophe like this. We've had, I believe, and I think you
Obama
believe this,
fined you if you
you
didn't
get
have
involved in
if
it,
you
but
didn't have insurance.
I believe
That's
it's over
fucking
20 million people came
socialism.
into our country,
Yeah.
many coming from
Obama gave
jails, from
fucking
prisons,
Trump could have fixed it. He
from
did fix it.
mental institutions,
He
or
fixed the
a bigger
healthcare
version of
system a
that
lot.
is
My cousin
insane
was paying
asylums,
since she was paying less.
and many are terrorists. And
It's
I'll tell
really
you
good,
what,
Alpha.
they're
It's really
coming
good.
not just from South America, they're coming from Africa, they're coming from all
Trump
over the
did
world. They're
fix
coming
that
from
though. He
Asia,
took away
they're coming
the
from the Middle
mandatory
East, they're coming from
fine if you
countries
didn't
that
have
are
health
uh,
insurance.
stupidly
So
and
he fixed it,
horribly
like
bombing Israel
and he made
October
it
7th.
actually
They're
Obamacare. He
coming
made
from
it
all
better,
over the world.
and it was
And
cheaper.
you look at, it's so sad October 7th because it should have never happened.
Yeah.
It's so sad
Sure.
when you look at Ukraine. It should have never happened. We have a defective government. These are defective people, and they're not people that should be running it. But where you see it the best is the border, because you have millions of people coming in a month, and then she gets up and she tries to pretend like she's going to do something. She had 3.5 years. And by the way, they have another 5 months that they can do something, but they won't do anything. It's all talk. She's incompetent and he's incompetent. And frankly, I think that she's more incompetent than he is. And that's saying something because he's not too good.
Yeah. No, I think it is. essential to have a secure border. I mean, you're really not a country unless you have a
Correct.
secure
Right.
border.
I mean, that's just
And
common
And
sense.
secure elections, too.
you know, yeah, absolutely secure elections, and so it's just essential to have a real border, or we can't function as a country, and our service, our central services are being overwhelmed in a lot of cities, and as we were talking about earlier, I think having a legal immigration process that is smooth and efficient and done well, and speaking as someone who is a legal immigrant, and I think I mean, like one way to think of it is, who do you want on your team? Um, who do you want on Team America? And I think we want to just say, okay, we want to let in people who are gonna, be great contributors to our society and to our economy,
Right.
and who do you want on the team? And it's not to say that, like in my opinion, actually, I'd
This
say
one
like
don't work.
probably most of the illegal immigrants actually are actually good, hardworking people. That's my opinion. Um, but some are not, and you just have this sort of adverse selection process where,
Colorado sucks.
if somebody's
I never been to Colorado.
if somebody's like you know, has a career in theft or robbery. I don't understand what's taken them so long to get here, because we're such a target-rich environment. Um, I mean,
That's how it is here in
why aren't
Cleveland too.
why aren't more people who have a career in, bad things coming here sooner? Because I mean, it's a piece of cake to go rob, houses in L.A. or New York, compared to other parts of the world, and and in a lot of places in America, if you try to stop the person who's robbing you, you'll be arrested.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's insane.
It's right. I mean, what's happening with crime, and our police are so good, but they're not allowed to do their job. But I have to tell you, Elon, I
They're
hate
not.
to say, because it's such a downer to say it. I hate to say it. I hate it, but uh, you have a lot of people that just shouldn't be. I think it's a much bigger number than you think. They're
I
allowing,
think you're
again,
right.
they're
Yeah.
allowing people from their jails. And if you were running one of these countries where they're coming from, you would have had all of them. As an example, Venezuela, their crime is down 72%. They're taking their drug dealers, they're taking, frankly, their prisoners, they're emptying out their prisons, they're taking their criminals, their murderers, their rapists, and they're
Yeah.
delivering them into
But
the.
that's what Castro did.
Yeah,
That
well, he did on a much smaller scale.
yeah,
It was a much
yeah,
smaller scale. But this
Yeah,
is a
it's
massive
crazy.
scale because this
Well,
is being done worldwide. But here's what's happening: crime all over the world is down. And wait till you see the numbers that we have. This is migrant crime. This is crime that's going to be.
yeah,
And I saw it today in New York, where somebody was knifed with raped the girlfriend of a man that stood there watching in New York in one of the shelters, and started
sure,
pulling out the knives, and bad things happen today. But this is happening every day. These are rough people. These are people that are in jail for
yeah,
murder and all sorts of things, and they're releasing them into our country, and they're telling them, if you come back, we're going to kill you. We're going to give you the death penalty or kill you. So they don't want to come back. But these are rough people.
yeah,
These are criminals that make our criminals look like nice people, and it's horrible what they're doing. And she's in charge of it, because now she's trying to say she
sure,
had nothing to do with it, and she's such a liar, because she was called the border czar the first day, and it was on the headlines of every newspaper. She's the border czar, and she never even went there. She went to one location which had nothing to do with where the problem is. She went in and out, I
right,
guess, because she was getting a lot of pressure,
yeah,
but
yeah,
had nothing to do where the problem
yeah.
is. But she was the
Well,
border czar, and people
yeah, yeah,
can't allow them to get away with their disinformation campaign. Now she's trying to say that she wasn't really involved, and the whole thing is horrible. She was totally in charge. She
yeah,
could have shut the border
they,
down without him. He didn't know what he was doing anyway, so he wouldn't have even
yeah,
known what happened.
yeah, that's
She could
true.
shut the border down. He
yeah,
wouldn't even know the difference.
Legit could have
But
shut it down right
uh,
away.
the fact is that she was border czar. But if you don't have to call
yeah.
her
She
that,
could get rid of
the fact is
taxes
what
on
you should
tips
call
right
her.
now.
She was in charge of the border, and the border was the worst
Right.
ever.
It's simply not working.
No, it's
I mean,
horrible.
whether it's a question of intention or competence, either way, we don't have a secure border, and we have people streaming over like it looks like a World War Z zombie apocalypse at times. And sometimes you got to sort of wonder, like, is it real or not? So because you see things, you're like, is it real? So I went to the border at Eagle Pass, and I saw for myself in Texas, and I was like, okay, it's real. I'm like seeing this in real time. I actually posted the video like just live. I just flew there one day and just to see, hey, is this made up or real? And I'm just seeing people stream across the border, and I have to say, at least the people that I saw did not look friendly. So
These are
people can look at my video and say, hey,
Yeah.
does these people look friendly? I don't look super friendly. So
These are people that
um,
Elon would not be the same man if he had to walk across the street and look these people in the eye. These are rough people. These are really rough people coming across. And I know rough people. And these are people that we don't want in our country. And, the caravans are coming in and they're putting, and who's doing this are the heads of the countries. And you would be doing
yeah,
it, and so would I. And everyone would say, oh, what a terrible thing to say. The fact is, it's brilliant for them because they're taking all of their bad people, really bad people. And I hate to say this, the reason the numbers are much bigger than you would think is they're also taking their non-productive people. Now, these aren't people that will kill you. We have enough of them, but these are people that are non-productive. They are just non-productive. I mean, for whatever reason, they're not
yeah.
workers or they don't want to work or whatever. And these countries are getting rid of non-productive people in the caravans in many cases, and they're also getting rid of their murderers and their drug dealers and the people that are
Yeah,
really brutal people. And they're coming into our country
yeah,
at levels that have never been seen before. And I saw an ad just before I got on the air. I'm walking over here, and I saw an ad by Kamala saying how she is going to provide border security. Where has she been for 3.5 years? For 3.5 years,
yeah. No, no.
we have 20 million people
I
poured
think
in.
is
It's a terrible
Yeah, I
thing.
think this, frankly, I think this is a fundamental existential issue for the United States. And if we have another 4 more
With
years
fucking bridge of my
of
nose
of
itches.
open borders, and it's going to be even worse with another 4 more years, it's going to be even worse than it's been for the past, 3.5 years. I'm not sure we've got a country
You don't
left
have a country
at that
left.
point.
Elon, if they get in, you will have 50 to 60 million people from all over the world, not South America only. We think of South America, we think of Honduras and El Salvador, Guatemala, and Mexico, the four. But it's not that. It's everywhere. They're coming in from
Yeah,
everywhere. And I had to stay in
Yeah, I think
Mexico.
this is a super important
Yeah.
point. Like people, it's like basically when I went down there, I was like, well, where are people from? It's like almost no one was from Mexico. To
No,
be clear,
Mexico
it's
less,
it's just it's just
less
it's
than
just the
the others.
border. It's just the border with Mexico. But the people coming in, it's Earth, the rest of Earth, and America is only about 4 or 5% of the population of Earth. It would only take a few percent of the rest of Earth to overwhelm everything in the
We're
U.S.
already
So
overwhelmed, Elon. We're overwhelmed. You had to see the news tonight about New York. New York, and I
If
love
I'm
that place,
president,
and what they're doing
I'm
to it
cutting
is
all
horrible. What
immigration
they're
off for
doing
right
to it,
now.
and all the courts do
At
is they
least for
try and
10
focus
years
on
till we
Trump.
get this cleaned
Okay,
up.
let's focus on
I don't
Trump,
care if it's
who
legal,
did
illegal,
nothing
it
wrong.
doesn't
I
matter.
complain about our
You are not
illegal entry.
immigrating here for 10
Elon,
years.
what's happened is unbelievable. You have from Africa, from the Congo, they're coming from the Congo, and 22 people came in from the Congo recently, and they're murderers, and they're dropped. They drop them. They take them out of jails, which is very expensive, to maintain the jails. Although they don't do too much maintaining, I can tell you. But they take them out of jails, prisons. They take them out and they bring them to the United States. They deposit them in the United States and say, "Don't ever come back, or you're going to be executed." And they don't want to come back, but they won't come back.
sure.
But they're coming from Africa. They're coming from Asia. They're coming from the Middle East. They're coming from South
Well,
America.
They're
They're
start
coming
coming
from
from
spreading the
everywhere, bro.
everywhere.
Like,
information.
And there
legit,
are a
they're
lot
coming
of
from
Yeah,
really
sure.
bad
everywhere.
ones.
It's just it's just an everywhere on Earth thing, and it's just not possible for the United States to absorb everyone from Earth, or even a few percent of the rest of Earth. It's just not possible.
Well,
So
Elon, we're going to have
that's
just to
yeah.
finish this up. We're going to have the largest deportation in history of this country, and we have no choice. Otherwise, we're going to have a country what they've done to our country. Think of it, with in Venezuela and in some of these other countries, crime is down 50, 60, 70, 80%. And you would be the same. You would have. You would have.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll tell you what. Venezuela has not gotten rid of all of them. They've gotten rid of about 70% of their really bad people. Their jails are about 50% uh, put into the United States. The same with other countries. Some are 30%,
Seen
some are
that.
at 50%. They're all different. But the bottom line is they're all going to be at 100%. Why wouldn't you put 100% of it?
Yeah.
And they're doing it right now while this third-rate phony candidate. Don't forget, I beat Biden. He failed in the debate miserably. And, you know, some people said, oh, gee, it's too bad. It's too bad he did so badly, or I did well in the debate. You know, the first night they said, wow, one of the people at CNN said that was the greatest debate performance I've ever witnessed. And then 2 days later, they didn't talk about that. They just said he was bad. But that's okay. That's the way I get treated, and I don't mind that at all. What I can tell you is this. We cannot have a Democrat. We cannot have her. She's incompetent. She's as bad as Biden in a different.
Yeah.
Look, she hasn't done an interview since this whole scam started. And say what you want. This was a coup. This was a coup of a president of the United States. He didn't want to leave, and they said we can do it the nice way or we can do it the hard way.
Yeah, I mean, they just took him out back behind the shed and basically shot him.
What they did with this guy,
So,
and I'm no fan of his, and he was a horrible president, the worst president in history. And one of the reasons he was so bad, first of all, the Israeli attack would have never happened. Russia would never have attacked Ukraine, and we'd have no inflation. And we wouldn't have had the Afghanistan mess, if you think of it. And we wouldn't have had Afghanistan. But we think of it. You take a few of those events away, and we have a different world. We would also have inflation was caused by oil.
Yeah, I think you're making an excellent point here, which is that when other countries can, that are, are thinking about invading or doing bad things, when they're thinking about that, they're thinking about, okay, what's the American president going to do? And do they fear the American president, or is it someone they do not respect and do not fear? And I think they would they rightfully be. I mean, look at the footage with the assassination. They're like, okay, uh, President Trump is like, don't mess with me. I mean, that's
Right.
like. Whereas I think people are not going to be, and they obviously have not been at all intimidated by Biden, and they certainly will not be intimidated by Kamala. And you have to really think of that in the context of global security.
Yeah.
That if the American president is someone that, like, evil dictators are scared of, that makes a huge difference to the security of the world.
So I had a good relationship with Putin, despite the Russia hoax that lasted for over 2 years. Just a hoax created by Hillary Clinton and Adam Shifty Schiff, some just bad people. You know, just
50
sick
shift.
people. I mean, Schiff is a sick person. He's going to end up probably being a senator. It's hard to believe. The whole thing is hard to believe. But they put our country in danger with that stuff too. They actually, when they make up stories, and you have to fight your way out of it for a long time. But I know Putin very well. I got along with him very well. He respected me, and it's just one of those things. And we would talk a lot about Ukraine. It was the apple of his eye. But I said, don't ever do it. Don't ever do it. You know, I shut down Nord Stream 2. That was the big oil pipeline, the biggest pipeline in the world going all over Europe. I shut it down. Biden came, and then they say, I loved Russia. I was a friend of Putin, and I loved Russia. No, he actually said to me one time, he said, if you're my friend, I'd hate to see you as an enemy. I shut down his pipeline, the biggest pipeline. They were looking at that to fund, and this pathetic president gets in there, and the first thing he did, one of the early things he did, is he shut down Keystone XL pipeline, which is our pipeline that would have employed 48,000 people, pipeline workers, shuts it down. That was, a massive job that Obama refused to allow. I allowed it in my first week because it was jobs and it moved oil. And by the way, in a much more environmentally friendly way. It's underground. It's not a truck that catches on fire or a train that catches on fire. But think of it. He shut down the XL pipeline, the Keystone XL pipeline.
Yeah.
He shuts that down, and he approves the Russian pipeline.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It's inconsistent. Certainly but I mean, I think it's just worth emphasizing, to listeners, the immense importance of whether the United States president is intimidating or not intimidating, and how much that matters to global security.
It matters a
Because
lot more than people
there's
think,
some
bro.
real tough characters out there, and if they don't think the American president is tough, they will do what they want to do.
I know every one of
and
them.
that puts it puts the whole world in danger.
Elon, I know every one
It's
of
a
them,
big
and I
deal.
know them well. I know
Yeah.
Putin. I know President Xi. I know Kim Jong Un of North Korea. I know every one
I'm
of them.
not voting for
And let me
either
tell you,
one of them.
people will say, "Oh, this is terrible." He said, "I'm not saying anything good or bad. They're at the top of their game. They're tough. They're smart. They're vicious, and they're going to protect their country. Whether they love their country, they probably do. It's just a different form of love, but they're going to protect their country. But these
Yeah.
are tough people at the top of their game. And when they see a Kamala or when they see Biden, Sleepy Joe, they can't even
Yeah.
believe it. They can't believe this happened.
True.
All the stuff that you're seeing now, all the horror that you
It
look at
is very
Israel,
true.
they're all waiting for an attack from Iran. Iran would not be attacking, believe me. You know, when I was there, and I say it with respect because I think we would have been good with Iran. I don't want to do anything bad to Iran, but they knew not to mess around. Iran was broke because I told China, if you buy from Iran oil, it's all about the oil. That's where the money is. But if you buy oil from Iran, you're not going to do any business with the United States. And I meant it. And they said, we'll
Yeah.
pass.
Yeah.
They didn't buy oil. Other countries, likewise.
Sure.
You want to buy, you're not doing business with the United States. And they were at a point where they had no money for Hamas. They had no money for Hezbollah. They had no money for any of these instruments of terror. And it was amazing. In fact, there were articles when I was leaving, which is hard to believe, actually, especially when you look at what's happened to our country. Our country is so bad right now. It's such a different place. We were respected. Think of it. 4 years ago, we were so respected to a point where when I said don't buy oil, they didn't buy oil, but they had no money,
Yeah. Yeah.
and Israel would have never been attacked. Zero chance. And again, I said to Vladimir Putin, I said, don't do it. You can't do it, Vladimir. You do it, it's going to be a bad day. You cannot do it. And I told him things that what I do, and he said, no way. And I said, way. And you know, it's the last time we ever had the conversation. He would never have done. I got along well with him. I hope to get along well with him again. You know, getting along well with them is a good thing, not a bad thing. I got along well with
Yeah.
Kim Jong Un when I met with President Obama just before entering. You know, it's a sort of a ritual. And I sat down with him and we talked. It was supposed to be for a very short period of time. It turned out to be a long period of time. I said, "What's the biggest problem?" He said, "North Korea." I had that problem worked out very quickly. It was nasty at the beginning with Rocket Man and, you know, all the different things.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden I got a call.
Those were some epic tweets, by the way.
Yeah, they
Those
were,
were
no,
like...
they were epic everything. He said that he has a red button on his desk. I said, I have a red button on my desk too, but my red button is much bigger and my red button works. And then I called him
Yeah.
Little Rocket Man of Little Rocket Man. Anyway, here's the bottom line. All of a sudden I got a call from him and they said they want to meet. They want to meet me. And we met,
Yeah.
as you remember, we met in Singapore. We met also in Vietnam. And I got along with them great. We were in no danger. But President Obama, Obama thought we were going to end up in a war, a nuclear war with him. And let me tell you, he's got a lot of nuclear stuff too.
Exactly.
He's got plenty of nuclear. He can do plenty of damage. So
yes, I mean, it's because, you know, I mean, people like Kim Jong Un, they respond to strength, not weakness.
Well,
and
he
if,
and I got
if
he
you
and I
project
had a good
strength,
relationship.
they, you know, you're good.
Remember,
Yeah.
remember I met him and we walked onto his land. Nobody ever walked onto his land before. I walked onto. I wouldn't say.
Yeah,
Let's bring
that was
up
cool.
Secret Service again. I wouldn't say they were thrilled when I did that. I walked onto his land, and it was an amazing period. But we were not in danger with him because of me. You know, I always
Yeah.
say that we have enemies on the outside and we have enemies on the inside. We have some really bad people in our government and people that are and controlling of the people. I mean, I'd mention names, but I really don't want to give them the credit. But we have some really bad, and I say they're more dangerous than Russia and China. If you have a smart president, a president that gets it, we are not in danger from those countries because they need us and they need our help. I mean, we forced Obama, if you think about it, Obama and Biden and Bush to a certain extent, in all fairness, forced Russia and China together. And if you're a history student, the first thing you learn is you cannot let Russia and China align. But then they also got, if you take a look, Iran, and they have North Korea. That's, they call it the axis of evil. In the old days, you had the axis of evil. Here we have a modern day axis of evil. These are powerful countries, very heavy nuclear, which is the biggest threat. The biggest threat is not global warming, where the ocean's going to rise one eighth of an inch over the next 400 years. And you'll have more oceanfront property, right? The biggest threat is not that. The biggest threat is nuclear warming, because we have 5 countries now that have significant nuclear power, and we have to not allow anything to happen with stupid people like Biden. Biden did something with Russia. There was no chance of him ever going in. And when I left, and then after I left, they started forming big armies on the border with Ukraine, right? And I looked at that, and I thought he was doing that because Putin's a good negotiator. I thought he was doing that to negotiate. But then Biden started saying such stupid things. For instance, he said that it can be a NATO country. Now, Russia, for as long as there's been NATO, has said we're never going to agree to that. And we go right up front and say that. And we did things and said things through this president with a low IQ, very low IQ. He had a low IQ 30 years ago, by the way, but now he might not even have a IQ at all. There's nothing on the board that goes this low. He said things that were so stupid that that war would have been that war had zero chance of happening if I were there.
True.
Zero chance. He was saying everything the opposite, and it's so sad because many more people have been killed in Ukraine than you read about. You don't read about how bloody it is and how disaster. Hey, look, just in the two armies, you lost 500,000 people, and Ukraine's having a hard time. Ukraine, I don't know if you saw the article recently, and it's true. You don't hear the true story, but
You
if
get
you
some
think about it,
water.
Russia's gone. Russia defeated Germany with us, and they defeated Napoleon. They've been around a long time. They're a big fighting force, and it's very unfair. And Ukraine now doesn't have enough men. They're now using young men and very old men to fight, and we're in a very bad position. And I'm not going to blame exclusively, but I can tell you I could have stopped that, and a smart president could have stopped that. It wouldn't have happened. But we had a man that actually made it. It made it more prevalent. It was so bad. The words that he was using, the stupid threats coming from a stupid face that he was using. I said, this guy's going to cause us a war. He's going to cause us. And let me tell you, it can lead to World War III. That can lead to World War III. The Middle East can lead to. We have numerous places that could end up in a World War III right now for no reason whatsoever.
I think you're right. I think people underrate the risk of World War III, and it's just when you're looking at the risk of global thermonuclear warfare, it's game over for humanity, and it's something that people have, I think, after the
1.3
end of the Cold
million
War, people have
people.
become complacent
Jeez.
about, but they actually have forgotten that there are currently a lot of nuclear missiles that have targeting parameters for the United States from other
100%.
countries.
And one of the things
And
we're going to do is
it's
we're going to build an Iron Dome over us. Israel has it. We're going to have the best Iron Dome in the world. We need it, and we're going to make it all in the United States. But we're going to have protection, because it just takes one maniac to start something. We're going to have protection, and we're going to have. Why shouldn't we have an Iron Dome? Israel has one. Some other places have one that nobody even knows about, frankly. But Israel has it. We're going to have an Iron Dome. But with all of that being said, to me that's so important, the most important. But with all of that being said, the election's coming up, and the people want to hear about the economy and the fact that they can't buy groceries because they don't have enough money to buy groceries. The inflation has killed them. Food prices are up 50, 60, even 100% in some cases. And this stupid administration allowed this to happen. And it's a shame. And that's the thing that people most care about, in my opinion. They care about the border a lot. And we discussed the border at great length. It's nice to have a forum like this where I can discuss something at length. And by the way, you think Biden could do this interview? Do you think that Kamala could do this interview? They would take a pass on
No,
you.
they could not.
So they don't need Elon. They don't need Elon screaming out questions. It's pretty sad. when you think that somebody that does this for a living can't answer a question or is afraid to do an interview. And in her case, with a very friendly interview, she's got all friendly interviewers. It's pretty scary.
Yes,
But the
absolutely.
big thing now is the
Well,
economy, Elon.
yeah,
And as much as
yeah,
I mean, I view nuclear as the single most important thing, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't understand that. But it doesn't have to. If I understand it, that's all you need. Because if I was president, you're not going to have that kind of a problem. But the thing that they really is making them angry is what Kamala and Biden have allowed to happen to the economy. It's a disaster with inflation. The inflation, it
yeah,
doesn't matter what you make. The inflation is eating you alive. If you're a worker or if you're just a middle income person, you can't afford. 4 years ago, 5 years ago, people were saving a lot of money. Today, they're using
yeah.
all their money and borrowing money just to live. It's a horrible thing
Right.
that's happening, and we'll end that
Well, I think
quickly.
a lot of yeah, a lot of people just don't understand where inflation comes from. Inflation comes from government overspending because the checks never bounce when it's written by the government. So if the government spends far more than it brings in, that increases the money supply, and if the money supply increases faster than the rate of goods and services,
That's right.
that's inflation. Um, so really, we need to have we need to reduce our government spending, and we need to re-examine. I think we need like a government efficiency commission to say like, hey, where are we spending money that's sensible? Where is it not
Right.
sensible? And we need to live within our means. We're currently adding, I think, $1 trillion to the deficit roughly
Right.
every 100 days.
That's right.
And the interest payments on the national debt have now exceed the defense budget. It's on the order of $1 trillion,
It's interest.
and it keeps
Yeah, I
growing.
rebuilt our military, largely rebuilt our military, did a great job on it, which was so important. We had jets, we had fighters that were, and bombers that were 70 years old. And we did a great job in that. Then by the way, then we gave 85 billion of it back to Afghanistan, if you can believe it. We gave them 85 billion. They're one of the largest sellers
Yeah.
of military equipment in the world. They're selling what we gave them. That was one of the most embarrassing days in the history of our country. But if you think about, let's go back to the economy. We have to bring energy
Yeah.
prices down. Energy started it. The price of gasoline. Now your cars don't require too much gasoline, so you have a good, and you do make a great product. I have to say, I have to be honest with you.
Thank
That
you.
doesn't mean everybody should have an electric car, but these are minor details. But your product is incredible. But the
Thank you.
gasoline, Elon, is the cost of energy. Not only gasoline, it's the cost of heating your house and cooling your house. That has
Sure.
to come down. It's gone up 100%, 150, and 200%, and that has to come down. When that comes down, and we're going to
Yeah.
drill, baby, drill. They stopped drilling, and then they went back to drilling because they went back to the Trump policy. But if they won the day after they get into office, this country will go out of business because they're going to go to an energy policy that's not sustainable. Wind and different things. You're not going to have anything.
Yeah.
And I know you're a big fan of the AI, and I have to say
Yeah.
that AI, and this is shocking to me, but AI requires twice the energy that the country already produces for everything. So you're going to have to build. We're going to have to build a lot of energy if our country will be competitive with China, because that's our primary competitor for this on the AI. You're
Sure.
going to need a lot of
Well, I mean,
electricity. You're going to need tremendous
yeah.
electricity, like almost
Uh,
double what we produce now for the whole country, if you can believe it.
Sure. Well, just going, back to this, like this basic thing, which that people try to make it sound complicated, but it's not. But inflation is caused by government
Right.
overspending. Would you agree that we need to take a look at government
Yes.
spending and have perhaps a government efficiency commission that just tries to make the spending sensible and so the country lives within its means, just like a
The
person does?
waste is incredible, and nobody
It is.
negotiates prices. You used to have a lot of people making jets, and you end up with two companies, and they'll probably try and merge at some point. I mean, I went through it like Air Force, just a thing like Air Force One. One of the first documents they asked me to sign, a general walks in, sir, would you please sign this document? And what is it? Air Force One. That's with Boeing, which is basically two planes, two 747s.
and the price was
Yeah.
$5.7 billion for 2 planes. Now,
Wow.
they're highly sophisticated.
That's
They're
insane.
even nicer than your plane, okay? But much more sophisticated. They're very, I won't say what's on it, but they got a lot of stuff on it. Anyway, but it's 5.7.
That's a crazy
It's
number.
a crazy number, but I said, I'm not going to pay 5.7. I'm not going to do it. I said, who made the deal? Obama and his people. I said, well, then I know the deal's no good. I'm not going to do it. And over a course of about 4 weeks, by my saying I'm not going to do it, I got the price reduced by $1.6 billion for the exact same plane, other than we had a nicer paint job, if you want to know the truth. But for the exact same plane, I saved one. And I said to Boeing, man, you guys must make a lot of money if you can reduce the price by that. But now what I do hear is that they're going back to the Biden administration and wanting big cost overruns, because they see these dopey suckers in there, and they'll end up getting some of the money back. But I shaved it by $1.6 billion for the exact same plane. And you can now take that and multiply that out times thousands of other
Exactly.
items. And
Multiply it by
yeah,
a
the
zillion.
numbers are
And yeah.
astronomical. I agree with you.
I
This
mean,
is a good one.
I think it would be great to just have a government efficiency commission that takes a look at these things and just ensures that the taxpayer money, the taxpayers' hard-earned money, is spent in a good way. I'd be happy to help out on such a commission
I'd love
if
it.
it were formed.
Well, you're the greatest cutter. I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in and you just say, "You want to quit?" They go on
Yeah.
strike. I won't mention the name of the company, but they go on strike, and you say, "That's okay. You're all gone. You're all gone." So every one of you is gone, and you are the greatest. You would be very good. Oh, you would love it. But if you look at Argentina.
Well, I'd be happy
Yeah,
to
by
help
the way,
out.
congratulations. I
Yeah.
just looked at the number of people that are listening to you and I chat. We'll call it a chat. But
Yeah.
congratulations. This is very good. I mean, it's great. And you're an interesting character. The new head of a place called Argentina, and he's a big,
Malay's awesome.
he's great. And
Yeah.
he's a big MAGA fan, that he ran on MAGA. And he took it to an extreme too. He ran on MAGA, and I hear he's doing really a terrific job. It's called Make Argentina Great Again. It worked out perfectly. He came in, he bought a lot of hats, he brought over, but he's doing a big job. He really cut.
That's crazy.
And
He's
I'm
fucking.
hearing they're starting to do pretty well. Inflation's getting down. They had like
Yes,
2,000%.
exactly.
They had inflation like not normal inflation. They had the real deal. But we're going to
Yeah.
have that pretty soon. We have, I think we
Yeah.
have the worst inflation we've had in 100 years. They say it's 48
Are
years.
those what
I don't
bonsai
believe it.
trees
I
right
think we
there?
have the worst.
Yeah.
They don't include a lot of the items that should be included. You know.
Yeah. Well, it's just from government overspending and not spending taxpayer money
Yeah.
effectively, and having just like so many departments you can't even name them all, and what Malay is doing is he's cutting government spending, he's simplifying things, he's having putting in regulations that make sense, and we're Argentina overnight is experiencing a giant improvement
That's right.
in prosperity, but it's also a lesson for the United States, which is that um, Argentina used to be one of the most prosperous countries in the world. Um, in the like
True.
in the 30s, 40s, and because of bad government policy, it ruined the country. And if you take Venezuela, for example, Venezuela should be incredibly prosperous. They have phenomenal reserves of everything, oil, everything, and it should be prosperous. But if the government's wrong, it impoverishes the people. And so I think we should not be complacent in the United States in thinking that and taking our prosperity for granted, because if with bad government policy, we can run the country into the ground. And that's just something people should bear in mind. Don't take prosperity for granted.
Well, think of education. So we're ranked at the bottom of every list of the top 40. We're ranked number 40, number 38. Uh, Norway, Switzerland, Sweden, different countries are ranked good. Actually, China's pretty close to the top. They're a top 6 or 7. But we're ranked at the bottom, almost at the bottom, 38, 39, 40. In other words, horrible. And yet we spend more per pupil than any other country in the world. So we spend more. And what I'm going to do, one of the first acts, and this is where I need an Elon Musk. I need somebody that has a lot of strength and courage and smarts. I want to close up Department of Education, move education back to the states.
I love that.
Where,
That is
where
fucking
states
amazing.
like Iowa, where states like Idaho, you know, not every state will do great because states that basically aren't doing good now. You look at Gavin Newsom, the governor of California.
Newsom.
He's terrible. He does a terrible job. So he's not going to do great with education. But of the 50, I would bet that 35 would do great, and 15 of them, or 20 of them will be as good as Norway. You know, Norway is considered great. You can name them. I mean, just they're so good. Some of these countries are so good. But if you go into some of these really well-run states, you know, we have states that don't know what debt is. We have states that have low taxes, no debt, everybody working. You know, they're really well run.
Sure.
And maybe they have certain advantages in terms of location, in terms of, the land or the sun, and the water and the whole thing. You know, there are a lot of advantages that some people have. But if you moved education back to the 50, you'll have some that won't do well, but they'll actually be forced to do better because it'll be a pretty bad situation. But if you think about it, you'll have some of these states. I'll bet you'd have 30, 35 states. It'll be much better. And you know what it'll cost? Less than half what it is in Washington. And these people don't care about the students in these, faraway states. And it
Yeah.
will be, it'd be unbelievable.
Yeah, I think you're making a good point in that if the states have to if if each state has to compete against other states, then people will naturally
right.
move to states where it's better.
Well, like California, as we said, it's a badly run state. I could go through. I got so many friends that are in those states, even if they're Democrats. I hate to mention certain states, but Illinois is badly run with Pritzker. He's a real loser. But
He's
some
a
of these
real
places are
loser.
just badly run. But it's almost going to force them to run better, and they won't do it good initially. But you're not going to do worse than you're doing right now. And I would say that the cost, you would cut your cost by 50 or 60%. And you'd have a little monitor. You want to make sure they're teaching English as an example. Give us a little English, right?
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. No, but I mean, too much. I mean, some of these governors are doing so badly. I mean, they got so many people moving out of their state. They should get U-Haul Salesman of the Year award because they're driving so much U-Haul.
It's
sales.
actually
It's just
amazing.
people moving out.
Isn't it amazing to you as a businessman that they can even survive? Like Illinois, so many people are leaving, and you wonder, how do they survive? I mean, how do they survive? Uh, I saw where you left California and you moved to Texas. Texas does a great job. But, I mean, I just wonder,
Makes sense.
how do these states survive when big businesses, a big oil company just left California, as you know, and they moved to Texas. How do these big states survive when they lose so many businesses and their taxes are already really high? The taxes are among the highest taxes. You almost wonder, how do they continue on? And in many cases, the governors don't do a good job in their crime-ridden places. You wonder, how do they continue to just go on? It's not a good situation.
I mean, I think the only thing that's going to force some of these states to change is if they risk bankruptcy and they're not getting bailed out by the federal government.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
you're
the
going to
only thing
have
that's
that.
going to get them to change.
You remember the area in California where they had that, where I guess somebody had sticky fingers and they stole a lot of money, and they went into a form of chapter, and it was very nasty for a period of time. But now it's probably the most popular place in all of California. So at some point, something like that may have to happen. But the problem is, you can't penalize people that loan money to the state when you have incompetent people like a Pritzker. Look, the family didn't want him in the family business, and then he ends up being governor of Illinois. So what is he going to be? Is he going to be a great governor? And you have people. I could name every one of them. I got to know every one of these, and some are very good, and some are just horrible.
Well, I think that the larger point here, too, as you're saying, like a lot of people are concerned about the economy. A lot of people are concerned about inflation, and inflation is effectively a tax on people that save money and for people that are working day to day.
Yeah.
It's just a form of taxation, and if we can solve the government spending problem, will solve the inflation problem, which means people will have a better standard of living, and that's a really good
Living
thing.
in government, no more foreign aid for funding these wars.
all through,
It'll
you
be
know, their
alright.
younger life and
It'll be
their
alright.
young life and their whole life. The people that saved money and then they got no
Stop
interest
funding
on their money and
abortions.
inflation destroyed them.
All of it.
And frankly, they were almost better off if they didn't do anything like that. I mean, those people have been absolutely decimated, and we're going to bring those people back and help those people. We've got to get the prices down. You know, when I look at bacon costing 4 or 5 times more than it did a few years ago, when you look at some of the food products in grocery stores, people go, they can't believe it. They used to be able to buy a whole cart, and today, you know, a lot of people just don't have the money. They go in and they can't buy anything. They look at it's sticker shock.
think
They call it sticker shock, right?
I think it really just comes, like I said, I think it just comes down to really, I guess, two things, which is that if you solve government overspending, you solve inflation, which improves living standards of the average person, and then if you deregulate, like have sensible regulations, so because a lot of the regulations are nonsensical and cause the cost to be extreme for no reason, but unless you've got effective deregulation. Like Reagan did a great job on deregulation in the 80s, but it's been 40 years since we had anyone really. I mean, during your administration, we made some progress, but I think there's an opportunity to make, I think, radical progress with sensible regulation. And if
Elon,
those two things, those are the big deals.
We set a record. We did more deregulation and more restrictions on all of the different businesses than any other president. Remember, I had the rule for every one we put in, you have to get rid of 10 or 12. And we did radical cuts on all of that. And a lot of that's being put back by this administration. And we did radical cuts on things that weren't necessary. But we were all set. You know, we had the best economy ever maybe in the world. And then what happened is COVID came in and we had to focus on that and nobody knew what it was. And I always say I got good marks on economy, good marks on military. We knocked out ISIS. We did so many different things. We rebuilt. But, you know, I never got the credit that we really deserved on what we did with COVID. We never got the credit. But had that not happened, a gift from China, from Wuhan, came in from Wuhan, the Wuhan labs, and I always said it, and it turned out to be right. But had that not happened, we were set to start reducing debt. We were going to reduce taxes further. I gave the largest tax cuts, and we were going to reduce taxes still further for middle-income people, not only businesses. But we did it for businesses because they're the ones that's why we had the great job numbers. But we were set to really start reducing debt. And, you know, we're sitting on
What's up, everybody? How you guys all doing
pile
tonight?
of liquid gold anywhere in the world, bigger than Saudi Arabia, bigger than Russia. And we were going to drill and we were going to make so much money. We were going to supply Europe with oil. I had stopped the Russian pipeline and we were going to supply them with oil and gas. We were going to make a fortune. And then the COVID came in and we really had to divert. Then what happened is when they came in, you know, we kept a lot of businesses alive. If I didn't do what we did, we would have had a 1929 type depression. But the problem is when Biden came in, he got trillions of dollars and just started spending it stupidly. You didn't need it anymore. You know, we got over that bad period where everybody was dying and feeling, you know, it was just not a good period. Interestingly, you know, during his administration, many more people died during his administration of COVID than during my administration, and we really got the brunt of it. But people don't realize more people died during his administration than ours. But it diverted us from doing what I wanted to do. But we had the greatest for, you know, almost 3 years. We had the great, and you know that probably better than anybody. So many of your friends said to me, the best years we've ever had in business were during the Trump years, and also said that African American, Hispanic American were so incredible. They were having the best. Asian American women, men, young people without a diploma, young people that graduated from the best colleges, from MIT, from the Wharton School, from all of the great colleges, Harvard. They were doing better, and people without a diploma were doing better, and everybody was happy. And then COVID came, and
Sure.
we had the problem is they spent trillions and trillions of dollars. They wasted. They shouldn't have taken any money, and we wouldn't be having inflation right now, which is killing our country.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and absolutely. I mean, I should probably say something about like maybe my views on climate change
Yeah.
and oil and gas, because I think I'm probably different from what most people would assume. Because my views are actually pretty, I think, moderate in this regard, which is that I don't think we should vilify the oil and gas industry and the people that have worked very hard in those industries to provide the necessary energy to support the economy. And if we were to stop using oil and gas right now, we would all be starving, and the economy would collapse. So it's I don't think it's right to sort of vilify the oil and gas industry, and I the world has a certain demand for oil and gas, and it's probably better if the United States provides that than some other countries, and it would help with prosperity in the U.S. And at the same time, obviously, my view is like we do over time want to move to a sustainable energy economy, because eventually you do run out of. I mean, you run out of oil and gas. It's not there for. It's not infinite. Um, and there is some risk. I think the risk is not as high as a lot of people say it is with respect to global warming. But I think if you just keep increasing the parts per million in the atmosphere long enough, eventually it actually simply gets uncomfortable to breathe. People don't realize this. If you go past 1,000 parts per million of CO2, you start getting headaches and nausea. And so we're now in the sort of 400 range. We're adding, I think, about roughly 2 parts per million per year. So I mean, it still gives us. So what it means is like we still have quite a bit of time, but so there's not like we don't need to rush, and we don't need to like stop farmers from farming, or you know uh, prevent people from having steaks or
Right.
basic stuff
Right.
like that. Like you can leave the farmers alone.
I agree.
in
How
my opinion.
crazy is that? Where
I mean,
you have farmers that are not allowed to farm anymore and have to get rid of their cattle, and the whole world is
yeah,
a
that's
little
silly.
crazy. But it's largely taken its lead from us. I do say though, I've heard in terms of the fossil fuel, because even to create your electric car and create the electricity needed for the electric car. Fossil fuel is what really creates that at the generating plants. And, so you sort of can't get away from it at this moment. I mean, someday you might be able to. But I do hear we have anywhere from 100 to 500 years left. Much of it hasn't even been found yet.
Yeah.
But there are tremendous, like Anwar. I got Anwar in Alaska approved. Ronald Reagan couldn't do it. Nobody could do it. Everybody tried. Nobody could do it. I got it approved. The first thing that Biden did was unimprove to get rid of it. He ended
Yeah.
it. His secretary went in and she ended it. And what a disgrace. That's Anwar. That's bigger, or they think it could be bigger than Saudi Arabia in Alaska. Could be bigger than Saudi Arabia. But they went in and they terminated it. And I'll get it going very quickly, because not only is it big for Alaska, I mean, you talk about economic development, that for the United States, I mean, that is, they say bigger than Saudi Arabia or the same size, and pure,
Yeah.
really good stuff. And, they end it. So I think we have, perhaps hundreds of years left. Nobody really knows. But during that
Yeah. I mean,
time,
my
something will
estimate.
come around that will be
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, my estimate would be, a little more uh, aggressive than that, but it's not the sort of like we're all going to die in 5 years stuff. That's obviously BS. Um, but I mean, my view is like if you just look at sort of the parts per million that increments every year, you get sort of 2 or 3 parts per million every year of CO2. Uh, I mean, I think some of that it's problematic if it accelerates, if you start going from 2 or 3
Right.
to say 5, and then there may be some situations where you get just a step change increase in the CO2, um, and I think we don't want to get too close to 1,000 ppm, because like that's actually makes it uncomfortable to breathe. Like just existing in 1,000 ppm CO2 is uncomfortable. That's like that's considered like an industrial hazard.
Right.
Just so it's that's actually you start getting headaches and stuff. So it's even without global warming, it's not comfortable to live in. So you don't want to get too close to that. But I mean, I think we've got. I think we want to just move over and and if I don't know, 50 to 100 years from now, yeah, we're I don't know, mostly sustainable. I think that'll probably be okay. Um, so it's not like the house is on fire immediately, but I think it is something we need to move towards. And on on balance, it's probably better to move there faster than slower. But like I said, without vilifying the oil and gas industry, and without causing hardship in the short term. I think this can be done without people can still have a stake, and they can still drive gasoline cars, and it's okay. It's like it's not. I don't think we should vilify people for it, but I think we should just generally lean in the direction of sustainability. And I actually think solar is going to be a majority of Earth's energy generation in the future, and it's certainly trending that way. And so you get the solar power, combine that with batteries, so because obviously the sun doesn't shine at night, and then you use that to charge the electric cars, and you have a long-term sustainable solution. And that's what Tesla's trying to move things towards, and I think we've made a lot of progress in that regard. But when you look at our cars, we don't believe that environmentalism, that caring about the environment should mean that you have to suffer. So we make sure that our cars are beautiful, that they drive well, that they're fast, they're sexy. I mean, they're cool. In fact, literally, I made this sexy joke: Model S, Model 3, Model X, and Y spells out sexy. It's probably the most expensive joke out there. But I don't know, I like cheesy humor, So, but I'm a big fan of, like, let's have an inspiring future, and let's work towards a better future, and we can do so without demonizing
Right.
people.
I'm okay. It's very interesting. You use the word global warming, and today they use the word climate change because you have some places that go up, and so they were getting themselves in a little trouble with the word global warming because not every place is warming. Some places are going the opposite direction. But I'm sort of waiting for you to come up with solar panels on the roofs of your cars and on the trunks of the cars, and it just seems like something that at some point you will come up with. I'm sure you'll be the first, but it would seem that a solar panel on the roofs, on flat surfaces, on certain surfaces might be good.
Yeah.
At least in certain areas of the country where you have the world
Sure.
where you have the sun. But I would think, and I have no idea because that's not my world, but I would think that this would be something that would be interesting. But the one thing that I don't understand is that people talk about global warming or they talk about climate change, but they never talk about nuclear warming. And to me,
Sure.
that's an immediate problem because you have, as I said, 5 countries where you have major nuclear, and probably some others are getting there, and that's very dangerous. That's where you need a strong American president because you don't want to have this proliferation. But you have 5 countries and getting more. China is much less than us right now, but they're going to catch us sooner than people think. They're way lower. Russia and us are number one, and I mean, we're sort of tied. And China is far behind, but they're developing at a level that you're not surprised to hear very fast. They'll end up catching up, maybe even
Yeah.
surpassing. But to me, the biggest
Yeah.
problem is not
My For You page isn't
climate change.
like.
It's not, and everything's a problem, but it's degrees. To me, the big problem is the nuclear power. The power of nuclear is so great. And when I talk
Yeah.
about
Nuclear power is underrated. It's
I'll
awesome.
prevent World War
Yeah.
III,
Oh,
I will. But the truth is that you have to, because this is no longer army tanks going back and forth and shooting at each other. This is
yeah.
a level of destruction and power that nobody's ever seen before.
Yeah, and actually, there's the bad side of nuclear, which is a nuclear war, very bad side. But there's also, I think, nuclear electricity generation is
Absolutely. You're
underrated,
right.
and it's actually people have this fear of nuclear electricity generation, but it's actually one of the safest forms of electricity generation. It's just a huge misunderstanding. Um, and if you look at the injuries and deaths, caused by, say, I mean, I'm not going to try to pick on coal mining, but just any kind of mining
Right.
operation, and there's a certain number of injuries and deaths per year. And you compare that to nuclear. Nuclear is actually way better. So it's underrated as an electricity source, and I think it's something that's worth reconsidering. But there's so much regulation that people can't get it done. So that
Maybe they'll have
sort
to
of
change the
have it,
name. The name is just, it's a rough name. There are some areas
yeah, it's a rough
like when
name.
you see what happened in
Good bad
right.
branding. The
We'll have to
branding's rough.
rebrand it. We'll have to give it a good name. We'll name it after you or something. You know,
No,
no, it has. Hey, it has a branding problem. You know, when you see what happened,
it does have a branding problem.
when you see what happened in Japan, where they say you won't be able to go on the land for about 3,000 years. Did you ever see that? And in Russia, where they had the problem, where they, there's a lot of bad things happened, and they have a problem. And they say that in 2,000 years, people will start to occupy the land again. You know, you realize it's pretty bad.
No,
but
that's not true.
but you're
Well,
right
no,
about it. It's amazing.
it's actually not that bad. So like after Fukushima happened in Japan, like people were asking me in California, are we worried about like a nuclear cloud coming from Japan? I'm like, no, that's crazy. It's not even dangerous in Fukushima. I actually flew there and ate locally grown vegetables on TV to prove it. Um, and I donated a solar water treatment, a solar powered system for a water treatment plant. And
Yeah, but you haven't
because the
been
danger
feeling
is
so
just
well lately, and I'm worried about it.
no, but I mean,
I'm
it's just
only kidding.
it's
I'm only
fine, It's like Hiroshima and Nagasaki were bombed, but now they're like full cities again. So
right.
it's
Well, that's
clearly
great.
not
That's great.
something that
That's
um,
great.
so it's not as scary as people think, basically.
Yeah.
But let's see. Are there some other topics we should touch on? Like lawfare. I think
Well,
we need to be concerned about.
what they've done to this country.
Obviously,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we just won the big
I mean,
case in Florida. This was a Biden administration did something that's never been done in this country, and that's go after their political opponent, me, with this nonsense and just nonsense. And the big case in Florida we won, but they always pick a judge and a jury, and they use local DAs, they use the local attorney generals like Fani, Fani.
Funny.
Spelled Fani. And it's just so they draw a lot from there. Like in Manhattan,
Funny.
one of the top people from the Justice Department went in, ran Manhattan, ran the state. The Letitia James deal was run by a person from the Department of Justice, Biden. They've never done this before,
Sure.
and they set up a very bad precedent. It's called lawfare, warfare.
Yeah.
It's a terrible thing, and never happened in our country. It does happen in banana republics and third world countries, but it's never
Yeah.
happened. And the incredible thing is it actually drove my numbers up because people see, fortunately I have a platform like you or, in all fairness, like a conversation like this where I can talk about it and people understand. I mean, you fight for election integrity and you end up getting indicted because you're fighting for election integrity. And when the day comes that you can't fight for election integrity, you don't have a country anymore. So what happens? What
Yeah.
happens is they went after their political opponent, me. Now Biden's, close to vegetable stage, in my opinion. Okay, I looked at him today on the beach, and I said, why would anybody allow him? The guy could barely walk. Why would anybody allow him? Does
Yeah.
he have a political advisor that thinks this looks good? He thinks this looks good because it looks so bad, and it's ridiculous. I mean, and he's been doing that
Right.
for a long time. He can't lift the chair. The chair weighs about 3 ounces. It's meant for children and old people to lift, and he
Yeah.
can't lift it. The whole thing is
Well,
crazy.
he's clearly not, he's clearly like we just don't have a president right
You
now.
don't
That's
have a
just obviously
president,
the
and
case.
she's going
It's
to be worse
sad.
than him because she is
It's
a San
pathetic.
Francisco liberal who destroyed San Francisco, and then as Attorney General, she destroyed California. You talk about location, and we're talking about the sun and the water and all. There's nothing better than California. She has destroyed that. She was the original DA. She was the original in San Francisco. She was the original Attorney General in California. What she has done to California is, well, you know better than I do. You just left California for a lot of those reasons. And what she's done with crime, with with cashless bail, where you kill somebody. I mean, we have states there you kill somebody and they let you out right away. I mean, you don't have to even put up, and then they never find the people unless they kill again, and then they let them out again. Our
Yeah.
country is becoming a very dangerous place. And she is a radical left San Francisco liberal. And now she's trying to protect. Now she's looking like she wants to be more Trump than Trump, if that's possible. I don't think it's possible, but she wants to be more Trump than
Well,
Trump.
yeah,
I want a wall. I
I
want,
think that's
you know, she
yeah,
wants to release all the
yeah,
prisoners that are in detention, and some of these guys are really bad.
right.
That just came
Yeah, I
out
just saw
today.
that.
She wants. She
Yeah,
doesn't want to build the wall, even though the walls work. Walls and wheels. You know, in your business, everything you do is obsolete. Almost, well, not the tunnels, but everything is obsolete. Even your rocket ships. They're like a month later, they're obsolete. You find a better way to. The only thing that's not obsolete is a wall and a wheel. And the wall, you know, I built hundreds of miles of wall, and that's why we had such good numbers. I was going to add
yeah,
200 miles. We bought it. We could have flipped it up in 3 weeks, and they sold it for 5 cents on the dollar. That meant I said, "Wow, that means that they actually do want to have open borders." She wants to have open borders, and
They
now
really
she's going
do.
like
They don't
super
give a
tough on
shit.
the border. It's such a lie.
yeah. This is simply not
Yeah,
true. This is simply
no,
not
and
true.
everybody
Yeah,
knows
it's
it's
simply not
not true.
true.
It's a disgrace that she can
Yeah,
say it.
no, I mean, obviously, what's happening sort of overnight is they're rewriting history and
Yep.
making Kamala sound like a moderate when in
Yep.
fact she is
And
far
she's
left.
not.
She's
She's
far far
far
left.
Worse
left.
than Bernie
Um,
Sanders. She is considered
yeah,
more liberal by far than Bernie Sanders. She's a radical left lunatic. And
She
if she's
really
going to
is,
be our
though.
president, very quickly, you're not going to have a country anymore. And she'll go back to all of
yeah,
the things that she believes in. She believes in defunding the police. She
Yep.
believes in no fracking, zero. You don't. Now all of a
yeah,
sudden she's saying, "No, I will. I really want to see fracking." If they got in, the day she got in, she'll end fracking. And by the way, if people didn't think that,
Why didn't
the
she just
lunatics
end it
that
now?
really believe in that, uh, they won't vote for her. You know, like like the
yeah,
That's what
Palestinians
she wants
and
to do. Then
Israel.
why wouldn't she
She
just
is
end the shit now?
so
I mean, it's not a
anti-Israel, and
good
she
thing,
stands
but
for
I'm just
both.
saying this bitch
Biden
acts
acts
like
as if
she's not
something
in
that was
fucking office
impossible.
right now or
Both
something.
sides hate him. You know, both sides. That was a hard
yeah.
thing to do. Unification.
Yeah, no, no. I mean, Netanyahu came to give a talk to a joint Senate and House sitting, and I was there, and Kamala stood him up. You know, what does that say?
I think
Um,
it's highly
that's
disrespectful. And I say, if you're a Jewish person or if you believe in Israel, if you're a person that, you know, is a very pro Israel, if you vote for her, it's worse than Biden. And Biden was bad. But if you vote for her, you ought to have your head examined. And you see tonight, I mean, as we're doing this, I'm seeing reports coming that they expect an attack tonight or tomorrow from hundreds and maybe thousands of rockets. You know, their Iron Dome, as they call it, as we all call it, but their shield that they build, that can be swamped. We'll use a term that's
yeah,
appropriate, swamped. But they
yeah.
swamp it by shooting enough missiles. You know this better than anybody. By shooting enough missiles,
So,
they can't defend themselves. You know, they just
Damn,
obliterate the
dude.
whole
Yeah,
yeah,
this
place.
shit's gonna
And
get
that's what some
crazy.
people think they're looking to do. And we have no leadership. There's no respect for the United States of
None.
America with these people.
Zero respect
And
for
I'm
us.
telling you,
yeah,
she'll be worse than him because she's a
yeah.
believer
No,
in
I
being
think you're right.
radical left, and he wasn't.
I think you're right. I mean, you really, it's important for the public that may be listening to this to look at Kamala's track record, before the last like month, and say, is that a track record you agree with? And I think if you're an independent moderate, you definitely would not agree with it, because it is her behavior has been far left, and we're seeing just an overnight propaganda attempt to rewrite history and make it sound like Kamala's moderate when she in fact is not moderate.
Well,
So I
her
think that,
running mate uh, approved, signed into legislation, tampons in boys' bathrooms. Okay, now
yeah,
that's
yeah,
all I
that's
have
weird.
to hear. Tampons in
That's
boys'
weird.
bathrooms, and that means she
Yeah,
believes in that too. I mean,
yeah,
she
that's
she
not
picked
okay.
this guy because he was the closest to her. A lot of people thought she'd pick sort of the opposite, but she picked an anti-Israel radical left person. But she is far worse, they say, than Bernie Sanders. If we have her as a president, if we have a Democrat at this moment as a president, I don't think our country can survive.
I think it's a massive. I think we're in massive trouble, frankly, with the Kamala administration, and that's my honest opinion. And I think really it's essential that you win for the good of the country for this election, and I mean that's understating my opinion. Um, Now, you may have seen this, but I got a letter from the EU Commission, like saying, to not have disinformation on the during this discussion that we're having, and there's a lot of attempts to do censorship and to force censorship even on Americans from other countries, and um, what do you think about that?
Well, I know the European Union very well. They take great advantage of the United States in trade, as you know. We, through a different form, NATO, we protect them, and yet, if you build a car in the United States, you can't sell it in Europe. You just can't sell it. It's impossible. The same thing with our farmers. Our farmers find it very difficult to do business. We
Yeah.
have a deficit with them of $250 billion, which people don't know. It sounds so nice, the European Union, but let me tell you, they're not as tough as China, but they're bad. And I let them know it, and that's probably why they notified you. No, they don't treat our country well. We defend them, with Ukraine. So we're in for 250 billion, and they're in for about 71 billion, and they have the same size. It's if you add up the European nations that in terms of an economy, it's about the same size. When you say as us, and they're in,
Yeah.
and they're in much greater risk. They they're right there. We have an ocean separating us from, in this case, the enemy would be Russia. Used to be for the
Yeah.
Soviet Union, but let's assume they're close enough. And what happens is uh, they're in for 70 something million. I think even less than that, billion, and we're in for about 250 billion, and it could be a lot higher than
A
that.
lot more than that.
And I say, why aren't you going to equalize? Why aren't they paying what we're paying? And they're in much more, it's much more important for them because of the fact that, they're right near there. I mean, they're all sort of in that location. We're not. But
Yeah.
they should, and I did it with NATO. There were only 7 countries that were paid up in NATO out of 28 at the time. And the United States
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
the United States was subsidizing NATO, tremendously subsidizing NATO. And I
Yeah.
went in and I said, you
Yeah.
got to pay up. If you don't pay up, we're not going to defend you any longer. I took a lot of
Yeah.
heat, but you know what happened? Billions and billions of dollars came flowing in, and
Yeah, I think a lot of the public isn't aware of the fact that the United States pays a disproportionate share of the NATO expenses,
and then we get
even though
taken advantage of on trade. So think
yeah,
about it.
well, I mean, the point of NATO is defending Europe, and it's like then okay, well, why is the United States paying disproportionately more to defend Europe than Europe? That doesn't make sense. That's unfair, and that is an appropriate thing to address.
Well,
Um,
when you talk about
so
cost cutting and savings and everything else, I mean, honestly, look, there's nobody that feels worse about the Ukraine situation than I do because I know it would have never happened. I know Zelensky. He was very honorable to me because when they went with the Russia hoax and they said I had a phone call with him, he said it was a perfect phone call. It was a great phone call. He could have grandstanded and, said, oh, he was very threatening. He said, no, it was a very nice phone call. I called him up to congratulate him on his win, and you end up getting impeached because these people are
yeah, yeah,
lunatics. I was talking about the difference
Uh-huh.
from the people within and the enemies on the outside. In many cases, the people from within are more dangerous for our country than the Russias and the Chinas. If you have a smart president, you're not going to have a problem with them. You're going to do things.
yeah.
Now, they've taken advantage
Yeah,
of us
absolutely.
incredibly, but you're going to do things with the right person.
Yeah, well, I think it's obvious that you're a believer and an advocate of free speech because during your first term as president, you were attacked relentlessly every day, often very unfairly with false attacks, and you didn't try to shut down the media. You didn't try to uh, inhibit their freedom of speech, and I think that says a lot.
Well, the good thing is that you and I have, and some people, very few, we can get the word out. Although sometimes it's hard because they don't want to print it. Like we're having a great conversation right now. Kamala wouldn't have this conversation. She can't because she's not
No.
smart. She's not a smart person, by the way. She can't have this conversation. And Biden, we don't even have to talk about it. I mean, he couldn't have this conversation. He would have given up on the first half of a question. He would have walked out. He would have said, "Where am I? Where am I going?" So anyway, but
Yeah,
no, he wouldn't have this.
that's true.
Not a lot of people would have this conversation, but we cover a lot of territory. But the beauty is that we can have a conversation, and
Yes, you
I'm
can actually
able
have a
to get it
conversation.
out without because I get treated unfairly
This
by
is
the
a really
press.
big point. You can actually have a conversation with you.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
And you can't have a conversation with Biden or Kamala. It's not possible.
That's
Um,
it's
so this is like talking to an NPC.
no.
So it's just
Well,
impossible.
but think of it. We need a man or person who's unbelievably
No, you
sharp
said
in
it
order
right
to
the first
stop all
time.
the nuclear danger and all the dangers that I'm talking about. And I got along with all these. I got along with Kim Jong Un. We had dinner. We had everything, and he really liked me, and I got along with him really well. By the way, he's the absolute boss over there. A lot of people said, "Oh, do you think he really?"
that's for
Let me
sure.
tell you, I saw things that you don't want to know about. He is the boss. But we had a good relationship, and he doesn't like Biden. He considers him a stupid man. He said he's a stupid man. Well, at least he speaks his mind. But in this country, you're not sort of allowed to say it. But I guess you are. You should be allowed to say it if
Yeah.
it's true. But we need smart people, and we need people
Yakuza.
that have an ability to lead. And she doesn't have that ability. Can you imagine? Now,
Yeah.
Chairman Xi very well. Can you imagine her and him negotiating or
No, it's
even
silly. It would be
standing
silly.
together? It is the whole
Yeah.
concept is ridiculous. She is terrible. She's terrible. But she's getting a free ride. I
It
saw
would,
a picture of her
yeah, yeah.
on Time Magazine today. She looks like the most beautiful actress ever to live. It was a drawing, and
Yeah,
actually,
yeah.
she looked very much like our great first lady, Melania. She looked, she looked, didn't look,
Yeah.
she didn't look like Camilla. That's right. But of course, she's a beautiful
Camilla.
woman, so we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, well, maybe like I think part of what people in America want to, people in America want to feel excited and inspired about the future. They want to feel like the
It's
future
true.
is going to be better than the past, and that America is going to do things that are greater than we've done in the past, reach
Right.
new heights that make you proud to be an American, and excited about the future. Um,
They want the
I
American
think
dream
this,
back. They want the American dream back. More important than anything else. It's like you don't have that today because the people they've been just sucked. They see incompetent people running our. You know, the Biden thing is very interesting. People just found him to be incompetent, and when I debated him, I was like, "Is this for real?" It was
yeah, it was just absurd. But I think there are like some grand projects that we could do. I mean, I think like we could build a base on the moon. We could send American astronauts to Mars. We
right.
could build high speed
Yep.
connections that are more advanced than anything else in the world between our cities, so people have fast transport. Um, that it's possible to solve traffic with tunnels.
That's right.
We already made great progress in Vegas doing that, and and just do things that are exciting and inspiring and make the future feel like it's better than the past.
Well, I saw
And
what you did in Vegas, and I'll tell you, it was amazing. I got to see. I took a big glimpse at it, and it's incredible. It's incredible, and you could do that all over. You could do that all over. It's deep.
yeah,
You
and
don't even need much structure. Assuming you're in the right areas.
no, it's straightforward.
It's amazing.
So
Are you
look,
so
I think we
close or
could do
not?
some things that like China's got incredible high speed rail between its cities, but I think it's actually possible with tunnels if with deregulation with an ability to actually where it's like legal to actually do the tunnels. Then you could have high speed tunnels that are actually better than anything else in the world for high speed transport between cities, and that would be something that Americans can say, "Wow, okay, we've got something that's cooler than anyone else in the
Yeah.
world." That's the kind of thing that makes you proud to be an
And
American.
much safer than surface trains where there is a danger there, with people, with crazy
Yeah,
people. It's much safer, much better. And, it's sad because I've seen some of the greatest trains. I find it fascinating. And I've seen the systems and how they work and the bullet trains, they call them, I guess. And
yeah,
they go unbelievably fast, unbelievably comfortable with no problems. And we don't have anything like that in this country, not even close. And it
yeah.
doesn't make sense that we don't. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and I think also like there's you know I'm kind of hopping on the excess regulation, but I think something that um that I think people can generally understand is that what happens with laws and regulations is that there's more and more of them every year, and unless there's a process to clean them up, eventually everything becomes
You're right.
illegal, and that actually it slows down the development of new technologies. I mean, if you take the sort of like I think there's room for some reform at the FDA for
Yeah.
improving the speed with which we approve drugs that could help save lives and improve people's
Yeah.
lives.
I worked very hard
And
on that.
you know
We got that
yeah
down to the lowest number ever, and we got therapeutics approved in the FDA that people can't even believe the speed. But I took them on. I don't think they like me too much, but I got things approved in the FDA at numbers that they wouldn't believe. And it's a very bureaucratic group. Actually, it's a fine group of people in many cases. I got to know a lot of them, but I was pushing them really hard for Regeneron, for so many different things that were really pretty amazing. But the FDA takes too long. It's 12 years to get a product approved. I got it down to 4, and I
yeah
got some things done very quickly. But it's really something that is going to have to be worked on because it takes too long. Just takes too long.
yeah it just takes too long, and it's you end up in the same with the approval, but it just it takes years instead of something that I think could potentially take
Yeah,
months, that improves people's lives. I
yeah,
think and but I just wanted to sort of hop on this point that like there has to be an active process for reducing rules and regulations, because otherwise they just keep building up every year,
yep,
and you get like hardening of the arteries, and eventually everything's illegal, or takes forever, and then we just we just ossify as a society. Uh, we can't make any
yeah.
progress, and that's it's a really big
Well,
deal.
Elon, just
So
getting back to the FDA for 1 second, I got something done called Right to Try. This is where you can go in and if you're terminally ill, you can use a space age, medicine or whatever it may be. We have the best doctors, the best labs in the world. We really do. And but people would go to other countries because you couldn't use the product, even if they thought it worked, because it's going through the FDA. I got it approved
yeah,
where you can
yeah,
you basically you look, nobody wanted, the doctors didn't want it because of the liability, the country didn't want it, our country, because they didn't want to get sued. These are people terminally ill. The insurance companies didn't want it, and the pharmaceutical.
Oh shit! I didn't mean to leave that. Fuck.
And also, they didn't want it on their record. If somebody's terminally ill and they die after taking a drug, they didn't want that on their record. So we set a separate list. If somebody was, so it wouldn't count as a negative.
yeah,
Okay. And as you know, we got it
yeah,
done. We have saved Right to Try. They've been trying to get this done for 58
yeah,
years. And it sounds simple, but it wasn't, because if, I mean, the insurance companies, nobody wanted it, but we got it done.
sure,
Somebody signs, you sign a document that you're not going to sue the insurance companies, the country, you're not going to sue anybody. And we got it done. And we're saving tens of thousands of lives. Right to Try. Hopefully you never need it. But if you
yeah,
do, you don't have to travel to Asia. People,
right,
if they had money, they go to
yeah,
Asia, they
sure,
go to Europe. If they don't have money, they go home and die. That's what happened. They'd go home and
yeah.
die.
Well, I mean, and actually, to give Europe some props here, it's like if a drug is approved in Europe, which has a crazy amount of regulations, it should obviously be approved in the U.S.
Yeah.
I mean, they get more regulations than we do. So why would a drug be approved in Europe and not in the U.S.? That's crazy.
Well, we did it. We
Um,
did something that really, they've been trying to do it for 50 years, and they just couldn't get it done, and I got it done. And it's really something. But you're right. Some people go to Europe because a drug isn't approved here, but it's approved in Europe, and it's a drug that, generally speaking, would
yeah,
work. It's pretty crazy. You're
absolutely.
right.
And I think so long as people are properly informed of the pros and cons, and like these are the risks, these are this is the risk, and like you make your own decision.
Yeah.
Um, that makes sense.
Well, I think just,
So
in sort of closing up, and by the way, I'm looking at the numbers. You got a lot of people listening. I hope you don't get
yeah,
nervous, because you got a lot of people listening to you right now, like 60 million or something. What is that number? It's crazy. It's
I
amazing how
agree
you
with that.
can see that right away. What is the number? Wow. What is it?
Well,
Wow.
I think in
Wow,
terms of people that,
that's bigger than you said. You said 25, and you're much more than double that number, 25 million. I think you're going to be 60 or 70, and I guess over a period of time. Hey, I congratulate you. Do I
Vaughn.
get paid for this or not?
well, I think actually in terms of the number of people that will hear this conversation over the next few days to
Right.
weeks, it's going to be hundreds.
That's
of
what they
millions.
say. Yeah, that's good. Well, look, it's an
Yeah.
honor. I just asked this: are you better off now, or were you better off when I was president? Nobody's better off now. People, we put out polls on that,
What's
and
up, bro?
nobody's better off now. Inflation has killed it. And they also feel very unsafe. You look at what's going on with a lot of different things. You look at the riots we had at the colleges over, I mean, it's ridiculous, but all of the riots, they just feel unsafe. And now they really feel unsafe because you have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. Maybe I'll call it Kamala migrant crime. But
I mean, with all these things, I always try to get to the ground truth
It's
by just
been a
asking
zero
people.
jerk. What do
And
you mean?
my mom lives in New York, and I was like, Mom, do you know, have any of your friends, been attacked or assaulted? And she said, yeah, three of her friends in three separate
Crazy.
incidents were assaulted just in recent months, just walking around the streets of New York. And I said, well, what happened to the people that assaulted them? Oh, nothing. They got away. Like, and
Oh, a
they
circle
just
they
know
jerk.
always get away.
nothing's going. And they don't even bother reporting it
Great.
because there's not. They know that they're not going to. People are not going to get prosecuted. They just let
Bro.
violent criminals out in New York
The
with
only one that gets
zero bail.
prosecuted is Donald Trump. They don't get, they prosecute Trump.
Yeah, I mean it's just obviously messed up.
Oh, it's terrible.
If violent criminals are being getting off scot free, and meanwhile the New York spending massive resources
What do
prosecuting
you
you.
mean?
It's like
Like
this,
the
and
conversation
and
going on
and
right now? Is that
the
what
sort of sensible
you're
public looks at this and
referring
says,
to?
what the heck's going on here? This is obviously abuse of the legal system. Um, the legal system is supposed to be protecting the public from violent criminals, and it should be obviously allowing the
I
public to
think
make
it's
their
an
own
important
decisions about
conversation that
who should
people
be
need to hear.
president, as opposed to
When
some
somebody's constantly attacked in the
legal case.
mainstream
Once
media,
they
then they
start
should
this
be able to at least
precedent,
have an
because this
outlet
can go on with
to
the next one. I mean, this is
speak
a
up for
very
themselves
bad
and
precedent what
let you
they're
know
doing
what they want
in
to do
terms of
if they're
going
president.
after their political opponent, and that's
I
all
don't
it
see
is,
Kamala
going after
Harris
their
doing any
political
of this.
opponent.
I didn't see Joe
And
Biden
then you
doing
get a
any of
judge
this.
who's,
This
a
just, I don't know.
strong
This seems
Democrat, and
more
I'm being nice
important to
when
me.
I say that. In many cases, crooked as hell. But you get a judge, and you go into an area where a Republican gets 3 or 4% of the vote, and you'll have a jury pool with people that hate Republicans or hate. It could also be the other way, though,
Of course.
because it could start the other way in areas where they hate
Exactly.
Democrats, and you get into a Pandora's box. It's a very dangerous thing for this
Yep.
country, and a very dangerous thing even for the state. New York City is losing. New York
Absolutely.
City and state lose a lot of business over what they did to me, because these people say we don't want that to happen to us. That's no justice system. You have an unfair system of justice, and it's costing New York State a tremendous amount of money. People are leaving and companies are leaving, and they won't come back. So, all of that stuff is important. But the economy now is the big thing, and we can turn that economy up so fast, and people are going to be back again. We're going to get rid of inflation.
I think there's a lot of
Right.
opportunity. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So
And I just
I,
want
th-
to
I
I
think
want to congratulate you. You've done an amazing job. You have definitely got a fertile mind. We can talk. You and I can talk about rockets and,
it's kind of you to say thank you.
tunnels. We can talk about tunnels
Corn
and
pop.
rockets and electric cars. So many things. And now you're into the AI, and that's
Change
going to be
words.
another beauty. I'll say.
What up, Vaughn?
So
Yeah.
it's an amazing thing you've done, Eli. It's an amazing thing, and I
Well,
congratulate you.
I mean, thank you. And I mean, I just say here, here's to an exciting, inspiring future that people can look forward to and be
It was a good
optimistic
interview.
and excited about what happens next. And that's the kind of future that I think you will bring as president, and that's why I endorse you.
Well, I appreciate that. That endorsement meant a lot to me. Not all endorsements mean that much, to be honest. Your endorsement meant a lot. And, we have a phrase, make America great again. It's pretty simple, but it really says that we want to make America great again. And we can do it. We can do it now, but if we were going to suffer another 4 years like we've suffered for the last 4 years, I'm not sure the country can ever come back. That's how bad it is. It's so bad. We have to
I
do a
think
lot
I
of
think that's a
things.
very real
Yeah,
risk.
it's a big
That's a
risk.
very real risk.
Yeah.
And it's I'd just like to note to people listening, like I've not been very political before, and if you look at my record, I've actually been I'm not like some they try to paint me as like a far right guy, which is absurd because I'm like making electric vehicles and solar and batteries helping with the environment, and and I actually I I supported Obama. I stood in line for 6 hours to shake Obama's hand when he was running for president, and so it's not like I'm like some sort of dyed-in-the-wool long-term Republican. I call myself, uh, historically a moderate Democrat, and but now I feel like we're really at a critical juncture for the country, and uh, I think a lot of people thought the Biden administration would be a moderate administration, but it's not, and obviously we're just going to see
That's great.
an even further left uh,
What's up, Vaughn?
administration with Kamala. That's my honest opinion. I mean, her dad is literally. I mean, she was brought up as an actual. Her dad is a Marxist economist. That's you can Google it. I mean, it's not a. We're not making this up. Um, that's how she was brought up. So, uh, and we want to have
Yeah.
a future that is prosperous. And I think we're just at this critical juncture, and I think this is a case of the America is going to at a fork in the road,
It's true.
and I think it will take if the path to, like you are the path to prosperity, and I think Kamala is the opposite. Then that's my honest opinion. I'm gonna get attacked like crazy, and I've also experienced quite a bit of lawfare myself, and but I'm just trying to tell people my honest opinion, and I haven't been really active in politics before, and I'm just trying to point out that my track record historically has been moderate, if not moderate, slightly left, and so this is to people out there who are in the moderate camp to say I think you should support um, Donald Trump for president. And I think it's actually a very important junction in the road, and we're in deep trouble if they don't, if it goes the other way.
Well, I want to thank you. And, I actually always did think of you as somewhat left. I must say that. So it's
Yeah.
even more of an
Well,
honor to
yeah.
have your endorsement. I know how strong you feel about it. But, when you think of her, San Francisco, 15 years ago, I had a great friend, Bob Tish. He said it's the greatest city in America, and now it's almost not livable there. And California likewise. And she was involved in the destruction of San Francisco and the destruction of California, and she will be involved in the destruction of our country if people are so unwise as to elect her. And I hope that doesn't happen, and I hope the elections are going to be run honestly, and we're going to turn this country around. We're going to do things and we can do it fairly quickly. And we have to get rid of the criminals that have been, given to us by other countries as they laugh. They laugh at
Yeah.
us. They think we're stupid to accept these people. These are radical, stone cold killers in many cases and terrorists. And they're in our country by the hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
And we have to take
Yeah.
them out.
Yeah, I mean, if I could summarize it, perhaps, I think these are issues that I think most people in America would agree with, which is that we want safe and clean cities, we want secure
Adrian
borders,
fucking
we
Antonio
want
Brown
sensible government
is
spending, we
nuts,
want
dude.
to restore both the perception and reality of respect
Anti-gay
the judicial
slur had
system,
a
and
fan
stop the
during
lawfare.
Sunday.
And I think
From the
that
suspension. Who
that's
gives a
like,
fuck?
and how are those even right wing positions? I think those are that's just common sense, and that's I mean, would you agree with that?
100%. I don't understand, the whole, they call it progressive. They don't like the word
I
liberal
think
anymore,
that's
but
like
call it
opposite though,
liberal
AB.
or progressive. I don't understand how somebody could say that it's okay for them to empty prisons into our country. And again, I told you their
Yeah,
crime
it's
rates
definitely
all
not
over the world
okay.
are going way down, which makes sense. In fact, the next time what we'll do is if something happens with this election, which would be a horror show, we'll meet the next time in Venezuela because it'll be a far safer place to meet than our country. Okay, so we'll go. You and I will go, and we'll have a meeting and dinner in Venezuela because that's what's happening. Their crime rates coming down, and our crime rates going through the roof. And it's so simple. And you haven't seen anything yet because these people have come into our country and they're just getting acclimated, and they don't know about being politically correct law enforcement or lack of
Yeah.
law enforcement.
What's this dude's
And our
name?
police, I have to just end with this. We have great police, we have great law enforcement, but they're not allowed to do their job. They have to be able to do their
Yeah.
job without being destroyed.
Well, absolutely, and it's obviously demoralizing if you're a police officer risking your life to to arrest violent criminals who could kill you and do kill you sometimes, and then you arrest the violent criminal and then the DA doesn't prosecute and that's let the guy out.
Yeah.
Well, then like why should a police officer risk their life uh, to arrest a violent felon
Well, even worse,
if
Elon,
nothing's going to happen?
even worse, they prosecute the police officer. They go after it and they prosecute the police officer and they take away his pension. They take away his
Yeah.
job. He loses his family. He loses his house.
Well, I thought it was very telling, like incredibly telling, that when there was that case where sort of a gang of thugs beat up police officers. I think it was in Times
Yep.
Square in New York, and and then nothing happened to those guys. They were let out, zero bail, and I think a bunch of them were given free tickets to California. Well, what is I mean that is a gross indignity against the United States, and that's how. I mean, this is insane. Like, have we lost all pride? What that? How can such a thing be allowed to occur?
I've never seen anything. You know, we see where they get shot. It's a very dangerous profession, but it's something they're very proud of, and they want to be able to do their job. But I've seen them get shot. I've seen a lot of things, but I've never seen where these guys are standing in the middle of a big street, everybody watching them, and they're literally boxing, like punching, stand up fighting a police officer. There were two of them, and you
Yeah,
had about six
yeah,
of
yeah.
these guys, and they're punching the hell out of them. And in their own country, they would be dead if they did that. They'd be shot.
Yes.
They would be shot instantly. And you know, they come from these countries, and it's taking them a while to realize that we don't do that in this country. But in their own
Yeah.
country, if they stood on a street and had a fight with a police officer, they would be shot. There's no political correctness. And it's such a sad
Yeah. It's
it's
just
such a sad thing to see. And that's the reason you have crime, by the way,
yeah,
because we don't do anything about
yeah.
it.
Yeah, we just cannot have a situation where our police officers are beaten up on camera by a gang of illegal immigrants, and then nothing happens to the guys that beat up the cops. I mean, and they're let out. This is
Well, we're going
unacceptable.
to change it, and we're going to get them out of the country. You know, when I first got involved, they said you couldn't get them back to these countries. You couldn't take them back. In the case of Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, some others, you couldn't get them back. And I said, really? Oh, you can't get them back? Because under Obama, he couldn't get them back. They'd fly them in, and they'd put planes on the runways in these countries so you couldn't land a plane. They'd bring them back. And the generals told me, sir, we can't bring them back. The countries won't accept MS-13 gang members. They won't accept them. And I said, really, how much do we pay these various countries in terms of economic aid, which is also somewhat ridiculous? And the answer was $750 million. I said, good. Tell them they're in default. They're delinquent. We're not paying them anymore because they won't accept
Yeah,
it.
it's
And you know what happened? They all called me,
yeah,
every
yeah,
one of them. They said, we would be honored to take them back, sir. We would be honored. It was so easy. But it's one of those things. And we got them back. We took in so many, you know, MS-13 is probably
yeah.
the worst gangs in the world. They're the most vicious, violent. We took them out of here by the thousands and got them out of here. And their countries took them back. And because I said, you're not getting any more economic aid. And once I said that, they were nice. They wouldn't take them back for
Yeah,
Obama.
yeah.
They wouldn't take them back for anybody. And now we have a problem because we have this guy, and they don't take him back anymore with Biden because they don't respect him.
Yeah, yeah. It's just gotta be done. We just can't have whether they're citizens or not citizens. We can't have because they won't prosecute citizens either. Not just illegals. So that if you can't have violent repeat violent offenders that are not that don't get incarcerated
That's right.
because they will obviously by definition continue to uh, to hurt people. And I think where part of this comes from is that there's and I do sort of consider myself liberal in some ways. I mean, it's just that you want to have empathy for people. Obviously, you want to have empathy for people. I totally agree with that. You want to have empathy, but you also have to have empathy for the victims of the criminals. And if you just have empathy for the criminals, it's actually shallow empathy. It's not real. You're not thinking. You're one layer deep empathy. You got to say like, what if you don't incarcerate this person? Who are they going to uh, hurt? Who are they might kill someone. They might rape someone. If you don't incarcerate them, you have to have empathy for the victims. And there's a lack of empathy for the victims of the criminals, and too much empathy for the criminals. It doesn't make sense. That's why you want to have deep empathy for society as a whole, not shallow empathy for criminals.
And we have to give our police officers the dignity and the respect that they deserve. And we have to let them do their job. They can do a great job, but we have to let them do their job. And if we don't do that, it's going to all disappear. There's never been a society like this where you're allowed to do anything you want and nothing happens. And I'm talking about violent crime. And it's going to get more violent because these are really, really violent people. And we're going to get them out of our country, and we're going to get them back to where, because they were sent here by the presidents and by the various people that run those countries. And I know every one of those guys.
Bro.
And they're smart people, and they're streetwise people. And they really think that the USA is stupid. They think we're run by stupid people, and they happen
We
to
are.
be right. But when I
Trump
was there,
21, your
we had
wife's a
no
liberal,
problem.
huh?
We got them out. We took
I
out
wonder.
thousands
What's
of
up, Alpha?
MS-13 gang members. We brought them back.
It's been a solid
And
interview,
now,
right?
again,
Not
it's the
bad.
same old story. We don't
I
do
gave
it.
it a
And they actually
7.5 or
gave them a
8, maybe
big
closer to
increase.
7.5.
They raised it up to billions of dollars, and they get nothing for it. So, I hope everybody's going to vote for Trump, and we're going to get this country straight.
Yeah.
And I didn't need this. I'm like you. I didn't need this. I had a very nice
Yeah.
life. I didn't need to go through court systems and go through all the other stuff and run at the same time. I have to run. I have to go through fake trials with, in some cases, corrupt judges, totally corrupt judges. I didn't need it. I had a nice life. I have great locations. I have beautiful oceans that I have places. But I felt it was important. And if I had to do it over again, you probably think I'm crazy for doing it, actually. But if I had to do it over again, I would have done it over again, because this is so much more important than me or my life. We're going to save this country. This country is going down. And these people are bad people that we're running against, and they're liars. They make statements. They do things that are so bad. They say they're going to make a strong border. They say they've been great on the border, and they've been the worst in history. They say they're going to stop
It's horrible.
crime.
Like the facts speak for themselves. The
It's so
facts
incredible.
speak for themselves. Like it's gotten to the point where people just don't even bother reporting crime in a lot of
That's
cities
right.
because they know nothing is going to happen. That's what I hear anecdotally from
Because
people
there are
all the
guys who was a
time.
diehard liberal.
So it's just my
He is
values are
insulted
just
daily.
to put
I
it out there.
bet,
Like
bro.
the things
I don't
that I
think I
think
could
are
date a
important to
liberal
people are
chick, bro. I'm
saying
not
we got
even
to have
gonna
safe
lie.
cities, we got to have secure borders, we got to have sensible investing,
Maybe, but
and we got
she
to have
can't be one of them hardcore
easy
liberals.
regulation,
Not at all.
so we
Because
have a
most
prosperous
women tend
future.
to
And
be
if we want
liberal.
to
You
have
got
some
to get
exciting,
them away from that.
sort of
You know,
smart projects that
you got to
that
make them
people are
realize
excited
how
about,
wrong that shit
and
is.
that's
But
the
that's a
future I'm
man's
looking
job,
for. And
though. You know.
I'm pro environment, but I'm not against. I'm not like I don't think we should vilify the oil and gas industry because they're keeping civilization going
Yeah,
right
for
now,
sure.
and but I do think we want to move at a reasonable speed towards a sustainable energy economy. Those are my values, and I think um, and so I mean that's uh, why I'm supporting you for president.
Well, I appreciate it. We're going to give incentive to companies to come into our country, not to leave our country. We're going to be giving tremendous incentives. We want companies to build here, not to build in other locations. And we want to create jobs. And again, it's about the American dream. You don't hear about the American
You
dream
gotta
anymore,
send her to
Elon. You
work
don't hear.
then, I
You're the
guess,
American
right?
dream in the Jewish guy, but you don't hear about the American dream anymore. And you're going to hear about
That
it.
is
People, they
hilarious.
need that incentive to go out and do
Take
it.
away their
And they're
TV
going to love
time.
their lives. I mean, they're going to look forward to getting up in the morning and going to a job that they love, not a job that they
Just gotta take
can't
away their
stand, or
TV
not
time, Alpha. That's
any
all.
job at all, where they have no money, where they literally have no money, and then they end up with violence and lots of other problems. No, we're going to do
Yeah.
we're going to do some great things, and I learned a lot in the first. We had a great economy and all of that. We rebuilt the military. We did so much, but I also learned the best people. I learned the good people, the smart people, the dumb people, the people that can do things. The people, you learn. When I first came
Dumb
in, I
people.
tell people I was in Washington D.C. only 17 times, according to the fake news media. I was in 17 times. I never stayed over.
Oh
And you don't know
God.
people. You rely on other people to give you names, and then you realize the people you relied on weren't so good. Now we had great people, but we also had some where I wouldn't have, used them had I known. Now I
Yeah.
know everybody, and I think we're going to really turn things around fast. We have no choice, otherwise we're not going to have a country. And
It's
I
true.
really appreciate this. Has been to me, it's been a lot of fun being with you. You're an amazing guy. You've done an incredible job and a great inspiration to people. A great inspiration, and I hope you keep going and just continue to do well. And we're going to have a big election coming up, and I think
One.
November 5th will be the most important day in the history of our country. I think that election will be the most important election, and I think it'll end up being maybe the most important day in the history of our country, because if
Yeah.
we don't win, I just feel so sorry for everybody.
No, I think we're at a fork in the road of destiny of civilization,
We
and
really are.
I think we need to take the right path, and I think you're the right path. So I think that's what it comes down to.
Thank you very much, Elon. It's a great honor, and we'll do it again sometime. And
I
it's
like
been
it.
really fun, and I hope you got a lot of viewers. I hear you got a lot, but I hope you
Sure.
got.
Yeah.
I know you got a lot of them. So I appreciate it. I'll see you soon.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Elon. Thank you very much. Bye.
That was a good one. I liked it. It was a very solid interview. Request to speak. All right. Everyone gone? Yeah, everyone left. All right, chat. I really appreciate you. I just wanted to watch that with you guys. Let me know what you guys think. I really appreciate you. Have a great evening. Peace.